2016 AFL Premiership season.
This is ABC Grandstand.
On ABC Local Radio and on digital radio, ABC Grandstand.
Port Adelaide look to record back-to-back victories after last week prevailing over the Tigers. This afternoon they face the Brisbane Lions from the Adelaide Oval, and at 3-3 it's a chance to get their season back on track. But it was these sort of games against Brisbane at the Gabba last year and Carlton that resulted in Ken Hinkley's Chargers missing out on the finals. Meanwhile, the Brisbane Lions very competitive against Sydney last week in the wet up at the Gabba. They won't mind a bit of rain around Adelaide this afternoon, and with Dane Zorko returning, it's probably the best side Justin Lepage said he's had in the past 3 years as senior coach. Matt Clinch with you for Grandstand AFL as we welcome audiences throughout Victoria and Queensland News Radio to the Adelaide Oval. Peter Walsh sits alongside me to call the match. Walshy, you were downstairs chatting to a few of the Brisbane Lions chaps in the lead up to this match, and a bit of a bug going through their camp.
Really disappointing, considering that the side that they'd selected, as you said, and Justin Lepage, very effusive about what was going on. And they lose Daniel Merritt to a bit of food poisoning, and Simon Black, who's the assistant coach and one of the better players that we've seen, as well as being on the coaching panel. He's back at the hotel as well. So they've come down with a full squad, and they're crook. And I was trying to investigate what they had or whether we should steer clear of, but that's not going to be. But they have a massive change, and Paparone comes in, and according to their camp, it'll be a like for like. He'll go straight to full back. But that's real bad luck, losing a player like that. And, of course, Simon Black wouldn't be all that chuffed, would he, sitting in a hotel room whilst the game continues? I hope he's listening to our coverage on the Grandstand around the nation.
Your experts on Grandstand AFL this afternoon, Rod Jamieson and Stephen Williams, the Brisbane Lions, out on the Adelaide Oval going through their warm-up. The power about to break out on this Mother's Day. What are you expecting this afternoon from these two sides?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Brisbane. Again, we spoke earlier locally around, I guess, the draw that Brisbane have had this year. They've had to take West Coast away, the Kangaroos where they're sitting, Geelong away, Western Bulldogs away, but they've played Sydney at home, and the only win they've had is against the Gold Coast. So their draw has been really, really tough. So I guess they have only had 1 win, 5 losses. Now, they have lost by significant margins against good quality opposition. So I'm just not sure what to really expect from them today, other than it'll be scrappy. You touched on the coach, Justin Lepage, thinks he's got the best team that he's had to date for some time, and his quality is coming back into the middle of the ground. Ironically, the centre clearances, they sit number 17th in the competition. We just interviewed Robbie Gray, and that's an area where Port Adelaide, Stephen, really feel they need to win and get on top to contribute towards their game.
They do, Jamo. Brisbane have really turned things around as far as their list looks. We know, the last probably 2 or 3 years, some of the high-quality draft picks that have just left their club and headed to different areas of the AFL. But if you look through their side now, there's some real stability. There's some experience through the midfield. Brian Bastonak's come in, Tom Bell's come in, Dane Beans has come in. So all of a sudden, there's some quality players that have played some pretty good footy at other football clubs that are happy to come and play at Brisbane. So Port Adelaide wouldn't want to think that they can just turn up and things are going to happen. You'd hope from a Port Adelaide point of view that they understand their best football is what needs to be played if they're to win a game.
You talk about what can happen in 7 days, where Melbourne got smacked 7 days ago by St Kilda, and Melbourne came out and they've given the Gold Coast such a walloping. And in case you weren't aware as to what happened after the game, there were some irate supporters who were extremely verbal at some of the players. Gary Ablett went over to try and tone down the supporters. There were security guards with him. One of his main problems was he thought that the language was so bad that there were young children around who would have, in effect, been intimidated by this. And when interviewed on commercial television afterwards, Ablett said, look, we're better than what we're playing at the moment, but we don't need that sort of behaviour. Supporters have such an investment in their football team, and I'm talking about how a week changed for the Melbourne Football Club, and a week can change for Port. They struggled against Richmond, they fell over the line, and the Brisbane Lions were very close to beating Sydney, who won by 81 points. So if you're a man that likes a small wager, put your money back in your pocket immediately.
Well, watching that game last week in Melbourne, that Richmond-Port game, it looked like both sides at the start were that low on confidence, Jamo, that it was really hard to pick who's going to win this really bad encounter. But Port were the ones that were actually started to get their method going and started to get a bit of confidence. And by the end of the game, they started to play some reasonable sort of footy. So you hope that that game can be a bit of a catalyst for them, that they can start to to put some form together. And if you look at Brisbane and Carlton, we know no game's an easy game anymore, but you'd hope that they were able to beat Brisbane here today, Carlton in Melbourne next week, and all of a sudden they're back in a reasonable position. So such an important game for them today.
And I think, I guess the quality, and again from the outside looking in, you go, Mitch Robertson heads up there. And at the start of this year, they were looking to... He was a captain in one of the pre-season games. Now, when he went there, and the reason why he left Carlton, or they moved him on from there, was just his I guess, the responsibility that he didn't have. They wanted more of him, and they felt he was loose, and his history has shown that. So hopefully now, he's now found his spot. I want to see... I thought Daniel Rich is a player. I mean, he went through that when he had a knee reconstruction. I just want to see him work a little bit harder. He's got the ability to find the football. Of course, we all know around Dane Beams, Pierce Hanley has been a revelation too, hasn't he? And Ryan Bastanak, he's the one for me, I think, is the key, I guess, senior head. I mean, he's played 120-odd games at the Kangaroos, and now he's played all 6 so far for Brisbane in the middle of the ground. So they've got some quality players. And Tom Rockcliffe too.
Well, he's the one, Jamo.
Yeah.
If he's playing at a club in Melbourne, everyone's talking about what a champion he is. He just keeps racking up, getting hold of the footy. He gets as much of the footy as Gary Ablett does. Yeah. So he's probably suffered a little bit for the fact that he's playing in Brisbane in a side that's struggled for the last probably 4 or 5 years. But he's a guy that can certainly find a lot of footy and be very damaging.
Daniel Merritt out through illness, and Marco Paparone coming in, so he'll go back and probably pick up Charlie Dixon, so they'll reignite some old rivalry between, I guess, the Gold Coast
and clash.
Yes, and Brisbane too. The sun's just starting to pop through. It's really overcast. There's been a little light rain, but consistent rain here all day. So you think conditions will be a little bit slippery, but the sun just piercing through. But look, I think the quality of Brisbane has been their variety of goal scorers and their options to goal. Their smaller players and how quickly they move the football. So. If they find a crack in Port at the moment, particularly here, I think that's an area where Port are normally pretty good, but we've got one of them sitting in our box before in Robbie Gray, who's been instrumental in that area. So, look, the clearance work is the centre one, particularly, is where they need to win the football, Brisbane, and then they're number 17th in the AFL. So there's a lot of improvement for them. But in saying that too, that you don't have to be far off the ball. And you
don't, Jamo.
Yeah.
And Port get obviously Wingard back, so that's a big plus for their forward half, and the occasional run through the midfield. So that'll make a hell of a difference. I think Nathan Cracker also back on the half back line. He showed last week just his ability to distribute the ball. He doesn't make mistakes. He's very clean with his kicking. So he's important back there as well. And we saw Jarman Impey go forward last week, kick 3 goals, and really provide almost like that Paul Puopolo, a lot of pressure and dangerous when the ball does come up there. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can hit the scoreboard again today as well.
The voice of Stephen Williams and Rod Jamieson dissecting the contest that lies before us. Matt Clinch and Peter Walsh up in commentary. James Coventry will sit in the front row of the grandstand. James, good afternoon to you for the first time.
Afternoon, Clinchy, and the toss has just been held. It's been won by Brisbane Lions captain Tom Rockcliffe. He's going to be kicking to the southern or riverbank end in this first quarter. That's the direction of a pretty light wind heading down that way at the moment. As you mentioned, it has been a bit of a wet one in here in Adelaide today, although we've only had about half a millimetre since 9 o'clock this morning. It's only raining very, very lightly for now, but enough to make conditions greasy out there. As you mentioned, one late change for Brisbane today. Daniel Merritt out with illness and replaced by Marco Paparone. The Lions interchange is Harwood, Bastanak, Robinson and Bell. Port Adelaide will go in as named, with their bench being Hartlett, Tulpas, Archie and Cracker.
Thank you, James. The Port Adelaide faithful are in. They've sat right next to James Coventry this afternoon. The Power looking to string back-to-back victories together and relaunch their season to hope to prevail to September action. Brisbane trying to do what they did last season and cause another upset against the Power this afternoon. On Grandstand AFL, to get us underway, the final match of round 7. Here's Peter Walsh.
One wonders, what do we have in store? The countdown now ceases. Sean Ryan, there's a good sight. He throws the ball in the air to start the game, and Trengove traps it cleverly. Dumps it a long way down the ground towards half forward. Westhoff taps towards Need on the run. Need swings the ball in towards full forward. Marked down there by Westhoff, who got the kick from Dixon, and he'll turn. And that looked pretty easy. Trengove knocking it on cleverly, and the two bearded boys in attack. And Justin Westhoff, I heard you, Stephen, asking the question of Robbie Gray as to, or I think Gemma, where is his best bet? Well, his best bet if he's kicking goals is right here. He's only 10 out. Walks in, shoots for goal. Goal umpire does a little bit of work, but not enough. Goal. Port Adelaide score a goal in the first 30 seconds of the game here and lead by that margin. 1 goal to the Brisbane Lions zip.
Jackson Trengove, immediate impact, Gemma, wasn't it? Got his hand to the ball and then was able to follow up and get that clearance. And Charlie Dixon playing in front really handled the slippery ball well. Got it over to Jake Need and a lovely weighted kick over the back. Trengove, Westhoff is able to hold his ground there and take a pretty simple mark.
Port Adelaide skipper on the wing and Wingard into the centre as well. So a little bit unconventional, Port Adelaide. Probably through necessity, not through choice.
Half-time at Docklands, the Kangaroos lead by 19 points. For our Melbourne audience, you've joined us because contractually this is our game, but you can listen via the AFL app. No ruckman, no worries for Port Adelaide as Wines gets the clearance. Bouncing ball to Mays on the back of the square, and then the hand pass away. Gardner with an up and under kick that comes to the broadcast wing. Zorko sits under it. It's punched towards the boundary by Boat. Impey can't keep it alive, but it rolls out of play. Jarman Impey, the defender, come forward. Kicked 3 goals last week for Port Adelaide. And again looks to be starting an attack this afternoon. Port Adelaide a goal after 30 seconds as the ball's spinning back into play. Trengove and Martin in a wrestle. And Trengove's given away the free kick.
I think that's going to be the area, isn't it, too? You know, Stephen Martin knows his craft. Trengove will just want to use his aggression.
Martin to Beams. Dane Beams kicked to half forward. Punched away from Shackey. Ollie Wines comes up with it. Ebert tackled. Lost it. Did he get rid of it legally? Play on's the call. Holding the ball. And it is going to be a Brisbane free kick. The second tackle. And it's going to be Zorko who will be rewarded with the free kick. Between wing and half forward. Sends the Lions deep into attack. A chance for a fly. Juggling mark. Unable to be claimed. Fighting for it is McStay. In fact, it was Leicester who came to the front of the pack. And it rolls out of play. A boundary throw in 30 metres out from the Lions goal.
Got a good piece of that, Ryan Leicester, didn't he? Very unlucky not to complete the mark. But Port Adelaide need to be very resilient in their back half. They've been scored against far too easily this season.
Paul Stewart runs back and picks up Leicester from the boundary throw in. Stephen Martin does the shepherding, but Ollie Wines takes it quickly. Back towards the centre wing where Westhoff creeps up to do some defensive work. Tried to knock the ball forward, couldn't do so. Rich flicked it out cleverly. Chad Sorko got rid of it neatly. Kick forward in towards the forward pocket, over the head of the pack. It was Pittard down there who couldn't gather. And it sipped over the boundary line for a throw in. Some neat work there by Shackey too, who's running around and looking to be a fairly sizable lump, all right. He heads back with Homps minding him as the ball now will be brought into attack. The sun creeping onto the confines of the Adelaide Oval. Trengove, front position. Couldn't quite tap the ball away. Broadbent goes in and lays the tackle as Martin tried to grab it. Picked up there for the Lions by Zorko. Kick didn't travel too far. Trengove again does well. Polak wobbles the kick back towards centre wing. Andrews there for the Lions. Not quite. Taken for the Lions by Paparone. The late inclusion. He's tackled well. Umpire says play on. Gee, they've got plenty of time to get rid of the ball. Stephen Martin got rid of it neatly. Kick forward in towards the half-forward line by Gardner for the Lions. Push and a shove. Good strong tackle from behind by Rockcliffe, who's up there. Hacked out of the pack. In towards centre half-forward. From behind. The late charge there by Humps wasn't good enough. And the big grab is taken by Shackey, the guy who got near the contest a few seconds ago. And he's a likely-looking customer. A very tall man.
Yeah, really nice, strong mark. Number 2 draft pick in this year's national draft. And big and strong, and never looked like dropping that one, did he?
No,
Brisbane have been really sharp around the contest with their hands.
Shackey, he's 45 out. Fair distance. Takes his time. Wobbles in. Shackey on the left boot. Kicks. And he has just missed. Offline for a behind. Brisbane Lions are behind. Porter a goal. Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio. News Radio and Grandstand Digital. First term action here at the Adelaide Oval.
He's wearing his dad's number as well too, I guess in memory of, but that's what they wanted and they were happy to, I think, give him a long-term contract. He just presented himself and he's big and strong.
The son of former Bear Lawrence as the ball's coming back into attack for the Brisbane Lions. A chance for Dane Beams who crumbed it beautifully and kicks the goal. No matches in 2016, no worries for Dane Beams, who crumbed that beautifully and still knew where the goals were. The Brisbane Lions are on the board. They take the lead. 1-1-7 to Port Adelaide, 1 straight 6 5 minutes played in the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Had all the ball, Gemma, haven't they? Looking at the stats, 22 disposals, Brisbane Lions, 9 to Port Adelaide. So since that first goal where Port were able to get it quickly out of the centre, Brisbane have really had their hands on the ball far more than Port Adelaide. And as that long kick went in, it was just all Brisbane that got to the front of the pack, and a great comeback for Dame Beans.
I think you highlighted too, Stephen, already just in the first 5 minutes. Their hands are round in tight. They've really been able to create some time and space with just how quick their hands, and they're finding the body. They look sharp.
Tight start. Martin got the tap, but Wines picked it up, went to Pittard for Port. Hand pass taken by Rich, who ran into trouble. Tries to toe poke it out, picked up by Boak. Boak gets clearance. How did he do that? His kick is long and strong towards the half-forward line. Offhands need, had it, lost it, got it again. Almost threw it away, took forever. Archie's there for Port Adelaide. He can't get the clearance, and there will be a bounce. About 35 to 40 metres out, with Port attacking strongly. A Westhoff goal and the response a Beams goal. That's Dane. And the scores are nice and tight with Dixon and Martin contesting. Offhand Zorko got a hand pass in defence. The kick is taken strongly there on the half-back line by, who was that, Gardner, back towards centre wing. Picked up and kicked forward by Port Adelaide fortuitously. O'Shea's kick is marked by Broadbent. He'll kick a goal from here, or a behind or something, because he certainly has the leg power to make the distance.
Yes, we saw that kick last week, didn't we? A lot better on the run, I think, Matthew Broadbent, than from a set shot. But I think over the last couple of weeks he's really improved his play. He was one of their better players against the Tigers last week, and this would be a good start for him.
Broadbent will kick from just outside 50. Approaches now. Gives it a thump. Gives it a long thump and hits the post. Port Adelaide 117. Brisbane 117. Early days. This is Grandstand AFL, ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
Mays quickly plays onto himself, brings Brisbane out of defence. Jonas punches it down. Harwood overrun it. Now Christensen comes up with it. Quick hand pass to Bastanak. Now to Rich. Not out of trouble. Good tackle from Archie. No free kick holding the footy. Need comes up with it. He cuts through traffic. Off the outside of the boot. Kicks on for Dixon. On the half ball. He can't pick it up. Gray charges towards it. Wingard's over the back. Hand pass over the top. And from the edge of the goal square. Chad Wingard kicks truly. Having missed a couple of weeks, a week through concussion, Wingard returns and puts Port Adelaide back in front, and a bit of push and shoving going off the ball. Gardner involved, Dixon as well. The power 2-1-13 to Brisbane 1-1-7.
Jack Neves looked pretty sharp, hasn't he? He's had 3 disposals, but Aaron Young was the player that was able to pick that loose ball up really well and showed great presence just to release the handball to a Chad Wingard who just drifted at the back, and a pretty simple goal from the top of the goal square.
He's sort of really starting to find his mark now. I think he's been very good in SANFL level. It's more midfield, but since coming into the side this year, Aaron Young in the forward line, his touch has been good, and he's created and kicked some goals.
He has.
You saw last week, Steve, Aaron Young kicked the 2 goals.
Couple last week, yeah.
He looked good. Now, with a poor bounce, Rich tried to swat it forward. He's going to get a free kick. He's got to play on too.
Look at that
kick. It a long, long way. It clears everybody. Humps rushes back, and it's barreled over the line. Good work there by Cracker in defence. She got with a fair way, and it's through for actually a behind. It's crept through. So a behind to 2, Brisbane at 1-2-8, Port at 2-1-13. Grandstand AFL, ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
That's a trademark, isn't it, of Daniel Rich? Just that
Yep.
raking low left foot that just travels really quickly to its destination.
Cracker with the kick in, and a good mark taken by Brad Ebert at right half back. At Docklands, the Kangaroos lead by 13 points against St Kilda. 6 minutes played in the third term. You can listen to that game via the AFL website. Long kick around the outer wing. Harwood got it from McStay. Dixon tries to tap it alive for Port Adelaide. Tied up against the boundary. Ebert runs towards it. Can't juggle it. And in the end, he's forced over the boundary line by Bastanak.
It's the sun. First time we've seen it all day.
Inside 50s 5-4. Brisbane lead. Port Adelaide by 5 points on the score sheet. Thrown back in. Trengove wins it down. Straight to Zorko, who's taken high by the Brad Ebert tackle, and he'll have the free kick at left half forward.
Not hard to do. Little man gets a lot of the footy.
Turns onto the right book. High kick inside the 50. Walker flew high. Jonas came from behind and punched the ball out of play. It barrels over the fence, and a boundary throw in the left forward pocket for the Lions. Only about 35 metres out from goal.
Good niggle out there.
Josh Walker's another good big focal point up there, come across from Geelong and just finding his way at the lines.
Yeah, Martin gets in front of Trengove. 12 plays 12. Trengove actually paddled the ball forward. Christensen, did he break a tackle? Well caught by Ebert. Umpire watches. Umpire calls for it. And there will be a bounce. Nick Foot.
Good tackling there by the Port Adelaide guys. Christensen's very good at ducking, isn't he? Getting low and winning those free kicks for around the neck, so they'll have to be careful of that. Martin
took the ball from that ruck encounter and almost threw it on the boot. Didn't go anywhere. Hartlett rushes in. And Mitch Robinson's out there. I love him. I just want him to be out there all the time. He's talking to the umpire and complaining about a no decision. He is involved in the game. Let's see if he can get near the contest. Archie, tackled well by Zorko, thrown into terra firma. Beams gets away, flicks the ball out to centre half forward. Walker, one way or the other. There'll be a hand pass. Short pass is on for Brisbane to Bell. He overruns it in the forward pocket. Comes back in, waits for it to come in his direction. Now he hangs onto it for an eternity. And fortunately is not given a free kick. Hand pass out to Archie. His hand pass in defence, Port will clear. Off towards Aaron Young. Young twists, gives it to Ebert. Ebert on the spin, hooks with the right boot. Back towards centre wing, Port kick. Marked for Brisbane by McStay at centre wing.
And McStay was loose in defence, that's why they couldn't barrel it long. He moves it into the corridor to Gardner, who has it at right half back. He'll kick around the members wing to half forward. Shackey will be the target. Holmes with a little nudge did the shepherding, and Paul Stewart took the mark.
That'll come in time one. It's just a young body just getting pushed under the football once he's aware of what he can do.
Beautiful transition to half back to O'Shea. Now looking for Wingard. Zorko, in fact it's Dane Beams in front of him. He can't control the mark. He's deemed to have been illegally shoved and will have a free kick at half back. First game since round 18, 2015 for Dane Beams, the former Magpie. Kicks to half forward. Walker, great body wrestle, and he takes the mark, falling to the turf, got rid of O'Shea. Walker turns around, onto the right boot, sends Brisbane forward, looking for Shackey. Holmes is there with him. Over the back, it bounces off Cracker's chest. Rich races after it. Christensen sliding in, and it rolls over the boundary line. And a throw in 20 metres out from the Lions' goal.
That's probably where the Lions can actually expose a little bit too. O'Shea on Walker. Walker's spirit's a good size, and you can just see then how he used his body directly to win the footy.
Tossed in, Martin in front, Westhoff against him. Westhoff takes possession out of the ruck, kicks it off the outside of the boot, gets a good 50 metres. Dixon in front position, couldn't claim the mark, but worked it down to Wingard. He kicks looking for Trengove at half forward. A foot race, sliding in, Claim Beams did really well. Knocked it to his teammates' advantage in McStay. He can link up over the top, the hand pass to Buick, gets to centre wing on the outer side, and great vision inboard to Beams. Dane Beams with the hand pass. They fire it inside the 50. It comes to the back of the pack. Leicester's after it. Racing back is O'Shea. Got good support from Cracker. Thought about rushing it through for a minor score. Didn't now. Cracker's under pressure. Brisbane with the numbers. Shackey from the goal square. Snaps the goal. The Port Adelaide error. And Josh Shackey was able to kick his first goal after missing from the set shot earlier. Brisbane in front by a point. 2-2-14 to Port Adelaide 2-1-13.
I think it's just the tackling was the pressure, wasn't it, as well? And I thought Cracker was going to work his way out of that. Walker came in, Rich, really strong tackle. And then Ryan Lester just being able to sharp handball. He could have kicked it himself. So, well done, Brisbane.
The big mistake was Wingard, wasn't it, when he had the ability to release Trengove, but just the kick was just kicked in between Trengove and the Brisbane opponent, and they were able to win it back and drive forward from that point.
14 gone. Tight scrap. Mother's Day football. Stephen Martin climbs high, taps. Ollie Wines ran past, no good. Kick off the ground by Rich towards the half-forward line. Gathered by Burne-Jones to Pittard. He will release on the left boot. Around towards the half-back line. Kick by Stewart is long and not too strong. It'll bounce towards the boundary line and go over. And there will be a boundary throw in. Tight game, 2 goals to Port, kicked by Westhoff and Wingard. Dane Beams and Shackey responding for Brisbane.
Brisbane having a lot of the football at the moment, 49-34, uncontested, 22-15. So too much of the football. Ken Hingley wouldn't like it.
Martin got the tap away on the run through there. Good work, Hanley. He's scruffing kick towards the half-forward line. Walker had it and lost it. Looks for a free kick that isn't there. Push and shove. Stewart's there for Port. He can't knock it away. Robinson's there for Brisbane. It bounces out of the pack. Chance now for Clay Beams. He lost it. Well played there by Dixon. His hand pass was very strong. Young's kick. It was smothered accidentally. Now it's gone to Hamish Hartlett. He knocks the ball forward. Kick by Archie in towards the half-forward line. Young kept on running. 3 Port players. Wingard, the ball socket to him by Boak. Now given back to Boak. Skipper will kick poorly and miss the loss. Tough angle, but on the run, and he kicked the ball out of bounds. A result will be a Brisbane Lions kick in defence. 2-2-14 to 2-1-13. Brisbane lead in this first term, and we tick now to 16 minutes.
Had a couple of options inside then, Travis Boak. One-on-ones they were, but probably should have gone for them rather than that risky shot at goal.
Kane Turner with a goal for North Melbourne, and they lead by 15 points in their clash against St Kilda. Good strong mark taken by Dame Beams at half-back. He kicks looking for Bell. Jonas there with him. Did well to make the marking contest without giving away the free kick. Now Tumpa's under pressure. Jonas with a quick hand pass right to the bootlaces of Holmes, and it rolls out of play. Not far from where James Coventry's watching on.
Clinchy, Jackson Trengove's just come to the bench for the Power for a little bit of a breather. Interesting to hear that he'll be playing about 80% of the game in the ruck today. But just looking at the stats early doors, he's actually trailing in the hit-outs 8-3, so he's receiving a lot of instruction about what's expected of him out there today.
Brisbane by 1 point. Boak with a hand pass back to Holmes from half back. He sends it to half forward, but Andrews takes a good strong mark in front of Westhoff. Feeds the hand pass to Gardner. There's a punch on going off the play. You watch that, Jamo. Watch the footy as Christensen takes the mark in the middle of the ground. Short chip inboard, finds Mays. Now he has players that have just come off the bench. Martin is one. He'll take the mark. He can hand pass to Zorko. Runs to 65. Chips it inside the 50. Great pass. Just controlled it beautifully. And he finds Pierce Hanley, who came out on the lead.
Ryan Harwood and Jakey Need, just the two heavyweights, Stephen, of the competition, just going at it behind the plate. Not much in it, but keep an eye on Tom Bell. Talk about size. He took a 50-50 contest about 3 or 4 minutes ago and took some time to get up. But I like the way Brisbane is set up around the ground, defensively really strong, 2-on-1, and certainly using the football better when they are going forward. I
agree, Jim. That little drop the eyes and hit that lead up going forward has been very impressive.
Couple of goals last week against Sydney. Pierce Hanley from right on 50. Curls it beautifully from left to right. And Brisbane extend their lead. They lead by 7 points. 3-2-20 to Port Adelaide, 2-1-13. The Lions looking good at the Adelaide Oval after 17 minutes.
Just the variety again, the options we spoke of that Brisbane have 2 goal. They've got Shackey up there presenting, Walker up there presenting 2. We know McStay can go up there. So they've got some good tools, some good leaders, and I guess the ability to use the football. You've already seen Dane Beams, Clay Beams. Zorko used the football really well.
Pierce Hanley's technique for a guy that grew up in Ireland is, if you could show someone this is how you kick a football, you'd show them Pierce Hanley's technique. It's magnificent.
Just having a look at the monitor there. I don't know if he's missing his front 4 teeth. He's not even wearing a mouthguard, Walshy.
Not sure on that one, Jamo. A good solid question.
Tough Irish boy.
Yeah, Trengove belts the ball from that bounce down in towards the half-forward line. Wingard attempting to do some shepherding and then attempting to look for a free kick, which isn't there. Paparone kicks the ball out towards where the runner almost gets cleaned up. It goes close to the boundary line. And Burne-Jones he was bumped fairly by Christensen, but had to put the arms out to stop himself from crashing heavily right below our commentary box. We're on level 5, and they're, of course, down on terra firma. Ball to be thrown in. 3-2 to 2-1. Brisbane by 7 points. Throw in. Martin swats it. Zorko is the man who got it. He was tackled by a boat, got rid of it. Was it legal? Must have been. Hamish Hartland tries to knock it forward. Over the top, that's good. Chance now for Port to run it forward through Young. Over the top, Needs busy. One way, the other. Went the short pass. It's slipped through to Wingard. Wingard fires to Dixon. He goes to Ebert. He goes to Broadbent. 30 out, Broadbent bounces it through. Port get their third goal. 3-1-19. Brisbane 3-2-20. Pretty slippery and slick. And that was a result of a goal now that makes the difference, just 1 point.
That was really impressive too. Certainly the kick by Need would have went straight to the Brisbane player, I think it was.
Darcy Gardner, straight through the legs, Jamo, wasn't it?
It did, yeah. And then Port Adelaide were able to mop it up, and just their quick handball through there, just to craft a way through the defence. It was very tight, and Broadbent always dangerous around goal.
Yeah, it was just nice and poised, wasn't it, with that handball? They didn't panic, they didn't try to quick kick it. Had guys in better positions, released it with the handball, and were able to open the lines up.
The Kangaroos lead by 22 points at Docklands in Melbourne against St Kilda. Martin with the clearance of the Brisbane Lions sends them to half forward, beautifully controlled by Lester. Got a boot to it, couldn't quite work it to Robinson. He overran the footy. Burne-Jones with a hand pass to Pittard. Tumpus run down, just got rid of it. No, holding the footy. And a Brisbane free kick, and Buick will take it. He's probably just a fraction too far out. He'll have to kick 55. He is directly in front though.
Yeah, they're saying go long. He might be a little bit too far out. He goes wide.
Looking at those flags up on the scoreboard, they seem to be...
Now found Clay Beams and his run down, so perhaps the longer option was the better. And a great tackle from Jarman Impey to win back possession for Port Adelaide. Inside the defensive 50. He'll head to the outer wing, sets it up looking for Archie. Flying from the back was Dixon, couldn't claim the mark. They battle for it at ground level. Tumpus comes over the top and we'll have a ball up centre wing.
You talk about taking a pack. Dixon has taken everyone before him in that contest, hasn't he?
The bowling ball skittled everyone from the throw-in. The throw-up, it's tapped down and Robinson takes it. Long kick, no one really in particular for Brisbane, and Cracker takes the mark in front of Zorko just inside the boundary. Squares it up to Pittard. He can chip it to Hartlett. Still inside the defensive 50 for Port Adelaide. He'll swing it to the members' side. Hits O'Shea on the chest. Didn't have to stop running. Now he's got Young further afield. Just got it away before Buick got a hand to it. Going back, Gardner did well. Could have been taken high by Impey, he was. And it'll be a Brisbane Lions free kick on half-back with the Lions by a point.
Thought he played that really well. Sorry, Clinchy then too. He was able to get the footy down onto the ground. He saw Jarman Impey coming at him and he just turned his body appropriately. Not ideal when you lead with your head, but that's how he ended up with the...
Yeah, good bold stuff, wasn't it? The Gardner on a Sunday afternoon. Kicks towards the centre wing. Humps flies from behind. Hartlett has it. Tried to knock it forward. His second effort pretty good. Rich barrels the ball out to Shackey, who it looks like he threw it from here. In defence, Pittard. Hand pass to Humps. Humps over the top. Wines tried to grab it. Cut off there by Rockcliffe, who put his hands to the contest. Close to going over the line. Now the hand pass comes to Archie. Oh, they're messing around down there. Wines is thrown overboard. Good strong stuff, Pierce Hanley. And there will be either a throw-in or a bounce. Let's wait and see. It is a boundary umpire who has some responsibilities. All very hungry for some leather on Mother's Day. This is grandstand football, and it's a tight one from the throw-in. Martin gets front position, whacks it back. Boat tried to grab it, couldn't do so. Ball kicked forward there by Bastanak, in towards the half-forward line. Hand pass comes out of the pack. Chance for Bell. Bell was dispossessed. Bell was magnificently tackled. Take a bow. Port's Burne-Jones Tawney, who's got it at half-back.
He gave it to Polak, who kicks looking for Westhoff. That's out in the full. Trying to compete with Andrews for the mark, but it was over the boundary line in front of the Port Adelaide bench.
He's all class, isn't he, Darcy Burne-Jones? Just his composure for a young lad.
Paparone, the late inclusion for Merritt, kicks high inside the 50. No mark claimed. Hanley tried to tap it down, but it's cleared by O'Shea. It's coming back. Andrews takes the mark between wing and half forward. Hand pass away to Mays. Now he might go right through the middle. Kicks long. Looking for Lester. Punched away by Pittard towards the boundary line. Good work from the defender, who's got the heavy black eye on the left eye. The Pirate. And it's going to be a throw-in with the Lions deep in attack, leading by a point.
Inside 50s, 13-7 in favour of Brisbane. You'd be a little disappointed they haven't be a little further in front, only 1 point, 23 minutes in.
Martin got rid of Trengove illegally, and it's going to be a Port Adelaide free kick.
Jared Polak just can't get hold of the ball. Only had 2 possessions. He was the guy last week, I thought, that was really able to open Richmond up with just his clinical kicking.
Trengove goes short to Darcy Burne-Jones in the right back pocket. One of the rare shining lights for Port Adelaide this season. Swings the ball to Pittard at half back. And he's got Hartlett over the top, chips it up. It's in the air for a while as Harwood races after Hartlett. He takes the mark though. And now all of a sudden the runner's gone for Port Adelaide. So Hartlett will kick as far as he can. Around the members' wing. Andrews in front position. Great strong mark.
Harris Andrews, isn't he a beanstalk? Hardly anything off him. And he turns. Dumps a high ball in towards the forward pocket. Over the back of the pack. It bounces to Pittard, who gets through superbly. Hand pass Trengove, they're on. Chance now for Impey. Tackle, shrugs the tackle, goes to Wingard. He's got it in the middle. Kicks it. Oh, but shepherd magnificently. Paparone put his body in. Here's the turnover. Rockcliffe back towards centre wing. And well played Brisbane, because They look to be in deep mire. Harwood takes the grab. He'll play on. His kick is long and strong into the forward pocket. Off the hands of the packet bounces and is escorted over the line by Tom Jonas. And there'll be a throw in. 3-2 to 3-1. Brisbane by a point. That looked an ominous thrust forward for Port.
It should have been a goal, Walshy. Once again, you don't often see Chad Wingard making the wrong decision, but that's twice now he's had opportunities to set his teammates up and blown them.
Thrown back in, it clears both ruckman. Broadbent punches it away at half back. It's coming back though. Good smother in the end by Brad Ebert. Diving on the kick from Rockcliffe, and it rolls over the boundary line and a throw in.
Clearances 10 apiece, contested 39-36. So around the contest, it's starting to even out a little bit.
Dane Beams with 7 possessions, the leading possession getter for the Lions. Martin over the back to Hanley, who can run and draw an opponent. Hand pass to Zorko. Kicks inside the 50. Slipping over at the wrong time was Keys. A chance for Paul Stewart. Christensen could have almost been taken high. Shaki tied up against the boundary. Jonas looking for the line. It's still not over yet. Now the tackle laid by Christensen. And it does go over as O'Shea is taken over the line. Boundary throw in, only about 20 metres out from the Lions' goal, who lead by a point.
And Matt, when I spoke with Danny Daly, just over where that patch is now before the game, it is a bit gluey, a bit slippery. Boundary throw in. Martin was there to try and knock it forward. O'Shea was trying to get near the contest. Ebert goes in, lays a strong tackle. Brisbane being represented by Ryan Bastanak in that exchange. No one can get near the ball. It's just flicked up in the air. Hamish Hartnett has it. He's dispossessed. And the pride, that's the pride of the Lions. They come from everywhere and there'll be a bounce with, I hasten to add, probably 12 to 14 players all around the pack. Rich the last to get up. And Boak stands his ground. Ball tossed in the air. Trengove tries to do the right things, but Martin got the tap away. Push and shove. Martin gets in the way of a teammate. Picked up there by the hyphen. That's Byrne-Jones. He barrels a long ball back towards the centre of the ground. Dixon couldn't take the mark. His effort to try and get back is all right. Hand pass comes to Zorko. Zorko's a chance from there. His kick is long but offline and represents a one flag result for the goal umpire. Brisbane 3-3-21. Port 3-1-19. Almost quarter time here. Grandstand AFL, ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
Pittard wasted no time giving it to Byrne-Jones. Dixon dropped the mark he could have claimed. Brisbane with a quick kick inside the 50 by Paparone. And it rolls over the boundary line and a throw-in. Port Adelaide fans thought Dixon did enough.
Jeez, if he starts to clunk those, he gets his hands on a lot of the footy, doesn't he, too? But I just like the way Brisbane is setting up structurally, defending too. They've got Clay Beans back in the middle. So even if Port Adelaide get it, they've pressed down. It's in the forward 50 deep and it's been in there a long time.
Thrown back in, tapped down to Rich. He's dispossessed. Hanley was taken off the footy. Broadbent for Port Adelaide. Bounces off Boak's chest. Christensen's after it. Boak goes once more. Kick smothered by Bell. Bell over the footy. Throws it onto his boot. And it's touched. Now the goal umpire is just going to check with the field umpire. They might even go for the video review. But the initial call was touched off the boot. It went through for a goal.
Not sure why the field umpire gets involved. The goal umpire's clearly said touched 1 point. Why do they need to check it?
While you look at the video, Steve, it gives me a chance to tell our audience that at Docklands in Melbourne, the Kangaroos lead by 16 points, 9-11-65 to St Kilda 7-7-49. Brown and Petrie with 2 goals for the Roos, Membry and Revolt with 2 for the Saints. And it was decided it was a behind, so Brisbane by 3 points.
Darcy Byrne-Jones.
Yeah, little to do about everything or nothing. You work it out, not too sure. But the result is that Pittard brings the ball into play, kicks it wide to Ebert, who marks it half back for Port. Turns around, Port under pressure at the moment. Brisbane doing well. Without merit is Crook. Simon Black's Crook. They ate something that they didn't agree with. Picked by Ebert back towards the centre wing position. Spirited run there from Buick. He's going to look, goes the hand pass. Kick long down towards Pittard's playing from behind. Here's a chance for Zorko. Zorko races through, takes the ball, crumbs magnificently and kicks accurately. And Brisbane lead by a little bit more, 4-4-28. Port Adelaide 3-1-19, heading towards quarter time, almost 30 minutes. And that was slippery work by Zorko. He might be small, but he can run pretty quickly.
Gee, they defend well, Brisbane at the moment too. Port Adelaide really struggling to get it past the centre or even their half-forward line. Defending really well. You can just see the quality that's come back into the side in Dane Beams. He's got hold of the footy. Pierce Hanley led. Good it was a good contest. It came to ground, but Zorko, where he gets most of his goals, all class at the front.
Those inside 50s, Jamo, 18-7. So the game's certainly been played in the Brisbane half of the ground.
Brisbane on 9 points approaching quarter time, the biggest lead in the match so far. Brad Ebert trying to get the clearance for Port Adelaide. He's tackled by Robinson. And we'll have another ball up just in the outer of the centre circles. Sun's come out. All of a sudden it's dried up after a wet morning in Adelaide. Christensen can't take it. Dane Beams can. Hand pass to Clay Beams. The two combining as now Buick has it. Runs to left half forward. Kicks looking for a Rich. Brushed off his opponent. Jonas filed off his opponent. Was able to punch it out of play and a boundary throw in. Brisbane are getting great territory and they're locking it in their forward half. They lead by 9 points. And a throw in 45 metres out from their goal. Martin and Trengove. Trengove in front position. Martin swats it over the back. Knocked on to Christensen. He can't take possession. Port Adelaide players appealing for holding the ball. And the umpire will come in and ball it up. Jake Need on the top of that pack trying to argue with the umpire. Christensen the last to rise.
Michael Voss, of course, in Port's camp. Having a look at Brisbane. Neatly tapped out towards Dane Beams. Swings the ball in towards full forward. But he overcooked it, and that's a fine mark in defence to Jonas of Port. Right on quarter time. 4-4 to 3-1.
They keep having a player out the back, Walshy, too, Brisbane. They actually get that clearance, they get a free handball, and they got time to settle. So really positive from Justin Lepage. I'm sure Ken Hink would be really disappointed at the ease in which they've been able to do it.
Well, Ebert was interfered with, and he'll take the resultant free kick as we are almost quarter time. And Ebert's taking his time. Starts, he stops. Starts again, and he stops again. And he kicks it to Polak, who hasn't seen a lot of the footy. And he takes the ball. And Brisbane making sure that there won't be any get-out kicks in this last few seconds. And Polak's being told now by the umpire to play on. So he floats the ball around towards the half-forward line. Martin gets up, spoils his own teammate. Chance for Buick. Buick knocked it clear of the pack. He goes back and grabs it. Hoofs it forward towards the half-forward line. Now Boak goes in and tackles him strongly. Very ugly. Pack develops. Robinson calls for it. And the timekeeper does it all a favour and calls it quits for first quarter action with Brisbane. 4-4-28, leading Port Adelaide. 3-1-19 at quarter time with Dane Beams, Shackey, Hanley and Zorko the scorers for Brisbane. And for Port Adelaide, Westhoff, Wingard and Broadbent here at the Adelaide Oval.
So Brisbane kicking 3 of the last 4 goals in that quarter to lead by 9 points at quarter time at Docklands in Melbourne. The Kangaroos lead St Kilda by 17 points, 9-12-66 to the Saints 7-7-49, with Brown and Petrie both with 2 goals, Membry and Revolt with 2 goals for the Saints. And for our Victorian listeners, if you're trying to tune into that game, the best way to do so to listen to the grandstand call is via the AFL website. The Lions by 9 points here at the Adelaide Oval. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
Raf Epstein.
Mike Davis is the director of the Great Barrier Reef documentary with David Attenborough.
I vividly remember standing on the deck of our boat, the Lucia, and so just seeing his kind of silvery hair as he's disappearing into the depths, just thinking, oh, right, so there's this 90-year-old icon going down deeper than anyone's ever been on the Barrier Reef. Let's hope nothing happens on my watch is all I can say.
Was your name sort of on the insurance company man responsible?
Raf Epstein.
Weekdays from 3 on 774 ABC Melbourne.
Grandstand AFL.
You're with Grandstand.
Mead swings the ball in towards full forward. Marked down there by Westhoff, who got the kick from Dixon. He's only 10 out. Walks in, shoots for goal. Gallopar does a little bit of work, but not enough goal. Port Adelaide score a goal.
As the ball's coming back into attack for the Brisbane Lions. A chance for Dane Beams, who crumbed it beautifully and kicks the goal. On the half volley, can't pick it up. Gray charges towards it. Wingard's over the back. Hand pass over the top. And from the edge of the goal square, Chad Wingard kicks truly. Got good support from Cracker. Thought about rushing it through for a minor score. Didn't now. Cracker's under pressure. Brisbane with the numbers. Shackey from the goal square. Snaps the goal. Runs to 65. Chips it inside the 50. Great pass. And he finds Pierce Hanley, who came out on the lead. From right on 50. Curls it beautifully from left to right. And Brisbane extend their lead.
It's flicked through to Wingard. Wingard fires to Dixon. He goes to Ebert. He goes to Broadbent. 30 out. Broadbent bounces it through. Port get their third goal. Kick long down towards Pittard's playing from behind. Here's a chance for Zorko. Zorko races through, takes the ball, crumbs magnificently and kicks accurately.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Local Radio and on digital radio ABC Grandstand.
Half-time at the Adelaide Oval, the Brisbane Lions lead Port Adelaide by 9 points, 4-4-28 to the Power, 3-1-19. The announcement, of course, this morning that the PM Malcolm Turnbull confirming that voters will go to the polls on Saturday, July the 2nd. We'll have a special election news update at half-time in this match. Rod Jamieson and Stephen Williams.
Really good start by Brisbane too, particularly just that passage of play highlighted Walshy called at the end. Dane Zorko, 4 inside 50s, 1 goal, 10 possessions. He is a player and he's getting it into their forward 50 and regularly. Dane Beams, the quality again. The area of concern for Port Adelaide, but the strength at the moment. Stephen Martin, 17 hit-outs to 18 to 7 in favour of Brisbane getting their hand to the football. Darcy Gardner, Harris Andrews also, just his ability to read the football, tall, 200 centimetres Walshy. He's not much of him, but the height, and they're finding it difficult to get over. And one for me also is Daniel Rich, not only in the middle of the ground, but in their forward 50. He's had 5 tackles. So like the pressure that Brisbane are applying, I guess the inside 50s too, 19 to 7. So once it's getting in there, Port Adelaide really aren't getting it too far out before they put it in. So the field position, how Brisbane are setting up defensively and holding their footy in there, make it really challenging for Port Adelaide. Great start.
Yeah, it was a good start, and that 19 to 7 inside 50 count is the one, Jamo. And Port's transition from the back half, we saw it last week against Richmond. They were able to take some chances and hit some targets inside the middle of the square and really open the game up, but Brisbane have been able to get back and block that up, and we've seen Brad Ebert with the ball 2 or 3 times and just really confused, unsure whether to go and take that kick inside or just go long down the line. And when they have gone long down the line, Brisbane have just been able to win that possession and get it back quickly and catch Port Adelaide out. So that's the challenge for Ken Hinkley and his coaching staff, that transition play that Port Adelaide just haven't been able to get right ever since probably 2014. And we heard Robbie Gray speak about it at the start of the match. The opposition know what you want to do, but if you're good enough at it, you can still do it anyway, and that's what Port have to come to terms with.
Brisbane Lions by 9 points at quarter time at Docklands in Melbourne, 3/4 time there. And it's the Roos 9-12-66, leading St Kilda 7-7-49 in Drew Petrie's 300th match for the Kangaroos. Both teams breaking from their huddles, heading out in position. In terms of some of the individual stats, Pittard, Burne-Jones with 7 disposals for Port Adelaide, Boak, Wines and Ebert with 6 for the Power, Dane Beams with 10 for the Brisbane Lions, Zorko with 9, Gardner and Rockcliffe with 7 and 6 to Mays. And just the overall disposals, Brisbane 100 to Port Adelaide 89, the clearances 14 to 11 Brisbane's way, and the hit-outs, as Stephen May mentioned, 18 to 7 the Brisbane Lions way. So players in position, just awaiting the all clear for the umpires to get the second quarter underway. Good crowd have come in for this Mother's Day occasion. The sun now down on the Adelaide Oval. Probably about 30,000, maybe 35,000. Thrown up, Trengove wins the first tap for Port Adelaide. Got it to Boak and now back to Trengove. Hartlett brushes off a tackle from Rockcliffe. Kicks looking for Need at stretch, takes the mark. He's 50 from home. He can chip it over the top. Oh, he thought about going to Boak. He pulled his kick and he turned it over. And Harwood took the mark inside the defensive 50. Not sure if he had a change of mind or just poorly executed. Ryan Harwood with the clearing kick for the Lions. Looking for Shaki. He flies high, punched over the back by O'Shea. And it rolls out of play and a boundary throw in.
Just kill you, those turnovers, Jamo, particularly when you win that centre clearance and you're going forward. The opposition hasn't had time to get players back there. Just Jake Need has to be better, hit his targets inside 50.
It was all about instinct, and he had the instinct, but he lost it. Throw in, Martin and Trengove. Oh, Martin got the tap away, even though he was from behind. Hartlett grabbed it, lost it. Trengove's kick off the ground. Pittard off to Boak. Boak with the left boot. Floats the ball in towards centre half forward. Port with numbers. Dixon's in defence. He actually threw the ball away, went back in after it. It's picked up by Rich. Rich's clearance bounces back towards teammate Bell. He crashed after the ball but couldn't get it. Hartlett receives the ball from Jonas. Hartlett's kicked to half forward. Ollie Wines can't take the mark. A Need over the boundary line. Oh, his fingernails weren't long enough. and the ball just bounced away, agonisingly close, but a boundary throw-in will take place.
Looks a bit indecisive today, Ollie Wines. There's a couple of occasions where he just hasn't committed himself fully at the footy.
Martin and Trengove, the 2-12s, they're going to be at it all day. Good first caught up by Stephen Martin. He actually slaps the ball away, does well. Port gather through Aaron Young, kicked off the ground. Chance now for Bell, who's busy. Bell runs. Who's there? Who can he kick the ball to? He can kick the ball to Shackey. Shackey's running hard. Hobbs is with him. Who'll fall over? Oh dear, surely a holding the man. No. Hobbs got out of jail and he goes to short pass. Ebert will take the ball on the bounce. Will run into trouble. Got a hand pass back towards Pittard close to the boundary line. A little bit of luck there for Port Adelaide. Pittard's kick bounces back towards the half-back line. It's all advantage to Brisbane. They'll come forward. The kick in towards the centre-half forward position. Hobbs lets it go, and that's a good, strong mark in defence to Paul Stewart. But you'd thought for a brief moment Brisbane should have got a goal.
He'll look to open up the members' side to Polak and now to Trengove, who marks it right half-back. Dixon is further afield one-on-one. Hand pass to Hartlett. He'll kick in that direction. Andrews plants himself in front of him. Dixon tries to tap it down to the advantage of Young. Gets it just inside the boundary. Kicks off the outside of the boot, perhaps gaining territory as it rolls over the line. And the umpire will pay deliberate. Paparone asked the question and he got the desired response.
Gee, Brisbane are really set up well, haven't they? When they've gone forward too, and just their attack and players, and even when Port Adelaide tried to get out, the pressure was great, the structure and how they set up to make it difficult for Port to run it out.
The Lions by 9 points. Paparone kicks to half-back. Dane Beams with a hand pass to Zorko. Martin couldn't pick it up cleanly. Now Broadbent has a go. Zorko's in there. That was a throw. Got away with it as it comes to McStay. Hand pass missed Bell. Hanley with his head down. Could have been taken high. Jonas slays the tackle. Trengove as well. Umpire lets them pay. And he's going to pay holding the ball.
So that's just the wrong decision there and there.
Yeah.
You just can't do anything.
He didn't dive on the ball. He put his head down, picked it up, was on his feet.
So Jonas takes the free kick, kicks in the direction of Dixon through his fingertips. Westhoff's the crummer. He's got two Lions who tackle him. Can't brush them away. Young's tackled by Paparone. It comes to Need. He ducks the tackle, loses the footy. Players dive on top. A chance for Young to knock it out. Broadbent to Wines. Dribbling shot on goal. And it hits the right goalpost. And a minor score. Not quite clicking for Port Adelaide yet. The Lions by 8 points. Down to James.
A little bit of concern down here for Brisbane, Clinchy. The captain... Tom Rockliff's come to the bench. He's just complaining of an issue with his right hip. He's just getting that stretched out at the moment by the physio. He's grimacing. He looks in a fair bit of pain.
Not good news already. Brisbane without the services of Daniel Merritt, who has got a tummy bug, which isn't too good. And so too has one of the assistant coaches in Simon Black. As Jonas, the recipient of a free kick, just floats it up into towards centre half forward. Ollie Wines tries to get some clearance. Still a hot ball. Beams will take it and kick it quickly out on the full off the boot of Dane Beams. And a chance for some reloading from Polak, who's within range here. He's right on the boundary line. He's about 45 out. And the only thing he's not looking at is the goals.
Right side for the left footer. He's probably the best kick in the team. So if I was him, Walsh, I'd just go back and slot this one.
There's the call from Stephen Williams. Let's see what Jared Polak can do. Cuts the angle. And he curves the ball back in towards the forward pocket and it comes off hands and will be over the boundary line for a throw-in. Brisbane are 4-4-28. Port Adelaide to 3-2-20 in the second term. We've just ticked over 5 minutes. It's a tight contest and those that are visiting the Brisbane Lions are doing well.
Kangaroos by 23 points. 5 minutes played in the final term at Docklands. Toss back in. Martin won it down straight to Young. Turns on the right boot and snaps a goal. That's what's been missing for Port Adelaide. And Aaron Young didn't waste his chance. They cut the margin back to a 2-point ball game. Brisbane 4-4-28 to the Power 4-2-26.
Probably looked the most lively, hasn't he, of all those small forwards up there, just on the move around the stoppage and reading it really well. And when he got in his hands, Jamo finished off nicely.
Stephen Martin, just a poor option from a hitter, wasn't he? Hit it straight back to the attacking side where Aaron Young was actually face on goal. He had players in front. He just had to palm it down to the front. He would have had 3 or 4 different options from teammates to be able to get hold of it and kick it down the line. They're out of trouble.
Had some busy times at the MCG last week. As we see Trengove try and knock the ball forward. Beams does well with a hand pass, but he overcooked it. It bounces to half-back. It'll be taken out there by Mays. Mays kicks under pressure. It's marked by Polak for Port. He started to run and then stopped. Now he's going to kick it backwards. Crowd just love that, don't they? Get excited when that happens. Pittard! Oh, he should have lost it. Keys ran through and missed it. Chance for Christensen. Over the top towards half forward. Keys there. Robinson kicks for goal and misses. And that is costly, and Robinson knows that. And the word that he uttered won't be repeated on our radio call, but he wasn't happy. 4-5-29 Brisbane. Port Adelaide 4-2-26, 7 gone second term.
They've won it back though, Brisbane. Bastanak at left half forward. Inside 50s, Port Adelaide's way in this second quarter, 6-3. Bastanak sets it flight towards the goal square. Walker comes out, got hands to it, couldn't take the mark. It's on the back of Shaki. Trying to break through, uneventful was Hanley. Still a chance for the Lions though. Shaki tackled, lost it. Tumpa slayed it. It comes to Paparoon. Up and under kick on the left boot. Robinson racing back. Did enough to make the contest with Pittard. Didn't give away the free kick. Now Trengove to Paul Stewart from the last line. Kicks as far as he can. Wines flies. Punched away by McStay. Coming out to greet it. Picked up by Shaki. Lost it. Archie over the footy. He can't claim it. Slippery footy. Tumpas picks it up. Just clears the area. And it's going to be coming back as Martin takes the mark for the Lions. Swings onto the right boot, the Brisbane ruckman. Sets it up towards the goal mouth. Punched away by a cracker by his own teammate, Trengove. Now Broadbent needs to get rid of it. Bell with a great tackle. Needs pulled off the footy. Christensen with the hand pass. Keys around the corner. And he hits the post. So Brisbane with a couple of opportunities. Couldn't capitalise. And the Lions 4-6-30, leading Port Adelaide 4-2-26.
Gee, their defensive work is outstanding again. Just that last 3 or 4 minutes to be able to get it in there, then keep it in there.
Yeah, not too many noises for Brisbane when they miss a goal. Broadbent did well to Polak, who's through the middle. Polak kicks very cleverly down the ground towards where Hartlett is. Hartlett, can he go over the top to Westhoff? He tried to kick it back towards Wingard, but the ball was smothered off the boot. In goes Impey. He's tackled strongly. They're working hard for the contest towards the boundary line. Westhoff's in there, he can't knock it clear. And in doing so, he almost punched it away. Shaki also doing some strong work for Brisbane. And there'll be a boundary throw in.
Really good desperation by the Lions defenders then. Hartlett looked to square the ball up inside, but they were able to get a smother on it and cause the boundary throw in.
Martin's there with Christensen and Rich. They're Brisbane players. Tap down. Wingard got through traffic. On the right boot, kicks long in towards full forward. Still a hot ball, it bounces. Did it clear the line? Umpire says no. Hand pass Mays out of trouble. The hand pass to Harwood. Harwood got it back again. He looks and he kicks. And it's almost a grab by McStay. Knocked away from him by Polak. In goes Hartlett, laid the tackle. Hand pass comes back towards Harwood. Harwood knocks it on. Now it's Impey. Oh, it's tough and strong out there. Hartlett takes control. He bounces the ball forward. And it's smothered well there by Darcy Gardner. And goes over the boundary line for a throw in.
Just a facet of their game, Brisbane. I'm just so impressed with their tackling, and their pressure is immense.
It is 4-6 to 4-2. Brisbane lead by that margin of 4 points, and we've gone 10 in the second quarter.
That was certainly better from the Port Adelaide small forwards that last few minutes then.
Dixon into the ruck, one down the tap, but straight to Rich, who gets boots a ball. Bouncing ball cruelly for Shaki, and Holmes will pick it up. He turns and spears it in the middle of the ground. He finds Pittard. He can play on. Chips the ball to Tumpas, picks it up on the volley, lost it. Robinson runs in. Tumpas has to tackle him. Ball comes to deck. Pittard with a good hand pass, although he missed need. Bastanak races back after it. Hand pass to Andrews. He's run down by Westhoff. Tumpas kicks it inside the 50. But in front position, the mark is taken by Paparone.
Skill errors just killing them, Jamo, aren't they? Pittard can't hit his targets, and when players are free, you just have to be able to hit them.
They're trying to go through the middle of the ground, and I guess Ken Hinkley's mantra is to take the game on, but they just can't hit them.
Hanley went very short to Bastanak, and now he'll spread it wider. And Sam Mays has it at right half back for the Lions. Call to play on. He'll kick as far as he can around the outer wing. Walker's there, flying as well as Martin. Hanley is the crummer, pushed out of play and out of bounds by Jimmy Tumpas. Oh, deliberate. That's deliberate. He took one step. Anyway, Port Adelaide get the free kick, centre wing, trailing by 4 points.
Tumpas runs. Oh, he's ran a fair way, Mr. Umpire. Any thoughts? Archie got a hand pass. Over to Pittard. The ball now will be kicked by the man who's got the hyphen. Burne-Jones towards full forward. Dixon holds the mark. Wingard wants to play on. Is the advantage paid?
Can't play it from the mark.
That's a good strong grab. A pack mark from Dixon. And the crowd, of course, are booing because they wanted Wingard's goal. to stand. It won't. And Dixon will turn and shoot for goal on a tight angle, I might add, but surely a forward of his ilk, a forward of any ilk, shouldn't miss from here.
He's been threatening to do this, Jammer, hasn't he? He's had probably 3 or 4 opportunities where he's got his hands to the ball and just fumbled it, but that one's stuck, and hopefully for Charlie Dixon it'll lift his confidence.
Charlie Dixon, Port 4-2-26, Brisbane 4-6-30. This for the lead for Port Adelaide. Dixon goals. Port 5-2-32. Brisbane 4-6-30. Low scoring, but a tight contest here at the Adelaide Oval. Mother's Day. It's a Sunday, and it's, 6-1, half dozen the other at the moment. Pretty hard to know which way the game is going to turn.
Inside 50 this quarter, 10 to Port Adelaide and 5 to Brisbane. So Port's starting to play the game a little bit more on their terms, a little bit more pressure in the forward half. So when Brisbane are winning the ball, it's just a quick kick out. And as we saw Brisbane do in the first quarter, Port have been able to win the ball and drive it back in. And that one resulted into a strong pack mark by Charlie Dixon.
Just the Brisbane defenders just got caught out a little bit. There was 3 of them, and he was able to read it a lot better.
So Port Adelaide by 2 points, back in the middle of the ground. Martin wins down the tap, trying to find Rockcliffe, who just had to tap it on into the path of Hanley. He's now tackled by Trengo, holding him to the turf, ensuring he's going nowhere. And we'll have another ball up. At Docklands, the Kangaroos lead St Kilda by 20 points. That's 13 minutes played in the final term. You can listen to that game via the AFL app. Martin can't get hand to ball. Hanley tried to soccer it off the ground. Hartlett with a kick to half forward with it. Archie couldn't take the mark. Now the Lions under pressure. Bastanak loses it. A chance for Archie. Hand passes it out to Need, who can turn and run. Gets to 45. He steadies and he goals. Port Adelaide string 3 together to start the second quarter. And they're out by 8 points. 6-2-38 to the Lions 4-6-30. 13 minutes played in the second quarter.
It's sort of the real time that Jakey, well, maybe the second for this game, that he's had some room and some space, and a lot of that contest both by both sides, and also the football was on the ground. It was a kick off the ground, it was a tap on. Jakey Need had around about 5 metres on his immediate opponent, just guarding space, and he was able to settle down and have a shot.
It's interesting that, because he still, when he got the ball, he had a quick look as if there was someone else, and then realised that, hey, the way to go was down the highway, and he did just that and scored the goal. Out of the middle, chance now for Brisbane to come forward through Hanley. Over the top, the hand pass. Port playing from behind as Rockcliffe kicks the ball in towards the half-forward line, and the mark up forward is taken by Lester. Lester for Brisbane. Kicks long in towards the forward pocket, rich in front. Good spoil there from behind. A big fist of Tom Jonas, and it's over the line for a throw-in. Well done down there, Jasper Pittard, who's had a fine season. And all bad news here for Brisbane. We'll get to James Coventry in a minute, but Rockcliffe limping from the ground.
Holding that handy washy, wasn't he?
That's not good.
Not a good sign at all.
Boundary throw in. Port attempting to thrust forward as Stewart kicks it off the ground. And it goes over. I thought that might have been deliberate. We'll go to you in a sec, James, but at the moment, Brisbane in attack for one of the few times in this term. As Robinson gets around and does some waffling to his opposition players. Teammate Lester's down there. Zorko's there as well. Throw in Martin, who's done so well. Tried to knock the ball forward out of the pack. Chance there for Bastanak. One way or the other. Port with numbers picked up by Ebert. Ebert from half back to half forward. Dixon's got to be 2 of them. I doubt very much that's going to happen. Beams does well on his kick. He just gabs the ball towards the centre wing. Did he keep it in? He did. And the mark is taken by Darcy Gardner for the Brisbane Lions at centre wing.
James, down to you. Didn't look good for Rockcliffe.
No, he's come off. He's clutched his right hamstring. He went straight to the bench, put his head in his hands. I think he looks almost resigned to his fate, although he's just gone down and he's getting it stretched out by the physio at the moment. So we'll just keep you posted.
Brisbane in attack. Zorko couldn't pick it up cleanly. Bell fights for it. Quick kick from Burne-Jones, but it's taken by Robinson, not deemed far enough. It's won by Port Adelaide by Ebert to Wingard. He's only got Dixon further afield. It's a good weighted kick. Andrews came in from the side, gave away the free kick. Clay Beams was loose for Brisbane. He rushes back. Plenty of players streaming past Charlie Dixon, who has it between wing and half forward. Hand pass over the top. It missed Wines. Bit of a sloppy mistake from Port Adelaide. He goes over the top to Young by hands. Now back to Boat. off a step, curls it around the corner to 20 metres out from goal. Good strong mark taken from Buick coming in from the side, and he marks in front of Wingard.
Just have to be a little bit better going forward than that, Port Adelaide. When you have the ball, need to lower the eyes and hit a target rather than just kick a high looping kick.
Buick kicks to half back and Hartlett takes the mark. Dixon was involved in the marking contest. Provided a good block for Hartlett to take the mark. He sends Port Adelaide forward once more. Wingard flies from the back. Couldn't come down with the footy. Need with a hand pass. Punched away by Gardner. Now it's Impey's problem. He's taken to the turf by Hanley. Umpire lets them play for a moment. And now he'll ball it up 35 metres out from the Powers goal, who lead by 8 points, 16 minutes played in the second quarter. And the Kangaroos by just 8 points midway through the final term over St Kilda at Docklands.
Oh, that'd be cruel for Drew Petrie if they don't snag one at his 300. It doesn't matter. Here is Ebert, who crashes in hard. Couldn't win the ball away. Christensen's there for Brisbane. Can't knock it clear. They're all hungry for it. Hacked off the ground there by Zorko. He rushes back in for a second effort and there'll be a bounce. James Coventry.
Looks like Rockliff's done for the day. He's just getting that right hamstring iced up at the moment. It's actually strapping the ice back to the bottom of his hamstring, so we won't see him back today.
Oh, that's a cruel blow, all right. Rockliff out of commission. Out of commission for the day. Wingard tries to lay the tackle. It's close to going over the boundary line. It is. In there was Dane Beams. Couldn't take it, and there'll be another throw in with a goalless quarter for Brisbane so far. Just two behinds. Port Adelaide 3-1. Boundary throw in. Martin gets front position. Westhoff's going to try and climb from behind. Tap down in the direction of Wingard. Wingard got through and tried to throw the boot at the ball. No. It's almost in the square and it's off the ground, socket through for I call it a rush behind for Port Adelaide, who are about the place. It's 6 goals. Let's see, 6-3 it is now. 6-3-39 to Brisbane 4-6-30. In this term we've gone almost 18 minutes.
Hanley with a short chip in, finds Harwood, who plays on. He'll swing the ball to half-back on the members' side. Martin going back with the flight, punched away from him by Homs. Zorko can't keep it alive as Ebert takes him over the boundary line.
That's what all clubs are trying to do, isn't it, Gemma? When the ball comes inside forward 50, just lock it in until you get that shot at goal. So Port Adelaide's objective here is to make sure Brisbane don't clear it and have another opportunity to score a goal.
Dixon up against Martin in the ruck. It's going to be a free kick. It's going to go Port Adelaide's way.
Could have gone either way.
Yeah, it could have. Dixon looked like he was trying to move Martin from his standing position. Anyway, the Port Adelaide forward with the free kick. Wingard comes out and leads. Got hands. The ball. He was held in the marking contest. Clay Beams had a bit of his jumper. Wingard made sure the umpire didn't miss it. And he'll line up only about 25 metres out on a 45-degree angle.
Just wonder with that kick, Jamo, why Justin Westhoff isn't the man that's actually attacking that. He's the tall target inside forward 50, but the last couple of times it's gone in like that, it's been Wingard that has been the guy competing.
Chad Wingard, who missed last week through concussion, kicked a goal in the opening term, looking to extend Port Adelaide's lead. Wingard comes in, starts at left, curls it round to the right, and Port Adelaide have kicked 4 goals in this second term to the Brisbane Lions, 2 behinds. They open up a 15-point lead at the Adelaide Oval, 7-3-45 to the Lions, 4-6-30. Meanwhile at Docklands, hang on to your hats, a goal to Josh Bruce, and the Saints are within 2 points against North Melbourne. The Roos 10-15-75 to the Saints 11-7-73. That's 20 minutes played in the final term. You can listen to the grandstand call of that match via the AFL app, but we'll keep you updated throughout the next 7 or 8 minutes as time on continues.
Extraordinary game there, the fight back by St Kilda. And of course, if North Melbourne get beaten, every team has tasted defeat throughout this season. Beams all over the shoulder, surely. Free kick must go to Dane Beams. He gets to his feet and Polak climbs off him like someone on board the first at Morford. Trained again yesterday by another Darren Weir winner.
14th disposal, Dane Beams.
Kicks to Trengo, couldn't take the mark. Christensen's there. Hand pass. Here it comes back to Trengo, but he wobbles the ball back towards centre wing position. Beams rushes in to try and take Dixon, but can't do so. Good knock on to Wines, who kicks towards the half-forward line. Who's there? There are a few Brisbane players back there. And the ball in defence, taken by Clay Beams. Clay Beams back towards the centre wing position. It's going to bounce straight back there. Hand pass comes to Dixon. Dixon not ready to be taken high. Bell got rid of it cleverly. Kick forward by Bastanak in towards the half-forward line. Carries a fair distance. In towards full forward. Over the top of the pack now. It'll be Hobbs who'll run for it. Can't quite grab it. Get some support there from Jonas. Christensen picked it up. He's kicked it to travel too far. He gets some support from Keys. Almost. It skids through. And Keys reckons he's kicked it. Or Keys or his teammate. We'll have to wait for this. We'll have to wait for a decision. There's a little bit of animation being shown down there and they're going to refer it. Keys got across and there is a score review. Player in the finish was Ryan Lester. Now let's see. Oh, you talk about it, fellas, because it looks as if it might have
I think it's a goal.
Through.
Tom Jonas went to smother it and the ball actually went over the top of him.
Yes. What a kick, though. Ryan Lester was on the ground doing the splits and he's kicked it from sitting on his backside.
And according to what we're waiting for, that might have resulted in the first goal of the quarter for Brisbane. And Leicester kicks it and Brisbane a 5-6-36. Port Adelaide a 7-3-45, 23 gone in this second quarter.
The poor decision there was when Jackson Trengove won possession of the ball. Port Adelaide actually had some numbers there, but instead of just using the handball and trying to run it out, he just kicked it quickly. The wall basically the Lions had set up, drove the ball back in, and they were able to kick a really important goal.
Alan Christensen's he hasn't had a lot of the football. Let's have a look at his stats here. Only 8, but his pressure that he applies, or when he's in the area, he's just his second and third efforts too.
Port Adelaide by 9 points. At Docklands, the Kangaroos by 1 point. St Kilda with the last 3 goals. There's 4 minutes to go in that game at Docklands. A free kick in the middle of the ground over the shoulder. It'll be a Port Adelaide free kick. Ollie Wines to go back over his mark to take it. Can you watch Docklands for a sec, Walshy? We'll see if North Melbourne will lose it. Wines with a long kick. Andrews with a hand over the shoulder, punching the ball away, and he's given away the free kick.
Scores a level at Docklands. Scores level with 4 minutes left.
So 2 bad free kicks for the Brisbane Lions. One in the middle of the ground and now one in front of goal. And Aaron Young, who's probably been Port Adelaide's most damaging forward in the opening 7 rounds, with a chance to try and add to that tally and kick his first of the afternoon.
Revolt's hurt his leg. He's in trouble, and the scores are still level.
No problems for Aaron Young as he guides it home from directly in front. His 12th goal of the season. And Port Adelaide respond to the Lions goal and re-establish a 15-point lead. 8-3-51 to the Lions, 5-6-36. That's 23 minutes played in the final term. And at Docklands, scores level, 75 apiece between the Roos and the Saints.
Just shows you, Jammer, when you get that ball in there quickly from a stoppage, the panic that sets in. There was really no need for Harris Andrews to be manhandling Aaron Young like that, because he's quite significantly taller. He could have just punched the ball away, but just that panic when the quick kick comes in, and Port Adelaide were able to receive another free kick.
Martin will contest. Trengove got up high. Martin taps not too far. Rich tried to grab it. Goes back in for a second effort. Martin tackles Wines. Flicked out of the pack. Rich tried to lay the tackle. Couldn't do so. Archie kicks long in towards the half-forward line. Spills off the hands there of Tumpus towards the boundary line. And there will be a boundary throw in. Claybeams was hungry but couldn't win the hard ball. Any change in the score now?
3 minutes to go. Scores level between North Melbourne and St Kilda.
What a finish that is. North Melbourne, of course, the only unbeaten side so far. Martin and Trengove, they're going to get to know each other for the duration of this game. Now, I'm not sure how you work out a free kick, but anyway, Trengove got it for that contention. In towards the forward pocket, offhand Zorko. Zorko got a hand pass close to the boundary line. Quick kick out of trouble. Leicester does it. Here comes Wines. One way, the other. Hand pass. Need! Ducked into a head-high tackle. Got a hand pass. Boak runs in. Lays a strong tackle. Now Need's thrown to the ground. I'm calling all Port players because they're about the place. Mitch Robinson got in there. Now it's a chance for Ollie Wines. Not quite. Forced back out there towards Martin. The big man. He tries to knock it forward. Angry pack. Angry pack. Pick up there by Ryan Harwood. Close to the goal line. And now it's taken through for a rush behind. Oh, nice and tough. Nice and solid. Rush behind. Port Adelaide with that behind now. They go to 8-4-52, Brisbane to 5-6-36.
Swapping over, Walshy. You watch the monitor. Scores level at Docklands. North Melbourne close to either winning in Drew Petrie's 300th match or their first loss of the season. Now Rich has kicked it straight towards the boundary line out of the pack, and that is deliberate in the umpire's mind.
I reckon the kick was poor. Like, he wanted to kick it down the line. The conditions that came off the outside of his boot, that certainly wasn't intentional.
Paul Stewart moves it back inboard. It's marked by Jonas. He's going to return it to where it came as Jonas slides on his knees and takes the mark.
Still level. Petrie flew for a pack mark and missed it. Score still level. 1:50 to go.
Holmes will kick around the boundary line to half forward. Westhoff flies from the back. Spoiled by McStay, who now picks up the footy. Hand pass to Dane Beams, tied up against the boundary. In fact, he was over the line. The boundary umpire raised his hand, and it's actually going to be paid as out on the full. So can't make sense of that. So Paul Stewart takes the free kick. He chips the ball to half forward. Now this is going to be out on the full. So about 20 seconds of meaningless football. And at Docklands,
score still level, 75-75. Minute and a bit to go. Kangaroos have the ball and a free kick with 1:20 to go. The Roos and St Kilda locked up at 75 each of two.
Zorko's turned over the footy, looking to move it back inboard to half back. Archie takes the mark. He chips it looking for Westhoff. Comes out, juggles the mark. Andrews might have slipped, lost his footing, and the Lions defence couldn't cover. And the bearded one, Justin Westhoff, able to juggle it only about 20 metres out from goal.
He's a player that almost the missing link up there, that Charlie Dixon's competing pretty well. Westhoff is the guy that needs to really lift his game. It can be really important.
So Westhoff looking to add in this second quarter. Port Adelaide with 4 goals to 1. It's a shank, but it's straight. It might have been the old helicopter.
What was that?
But Justin Westhoff kicks his second, and Port Adelaide lead by 22 points. 9-4-58 to Brisbane, 5-6-36. Walshy at Docklands.
Looks like the Kangaroos. Goldstein took a fine mark, missed, but he scored it behind. They're back into attack, and who would have it? Harvey. 30 seconds of play remaining, and the Kangaroos lead by 1 point, 76-75. The clock is ticking, and Boomer Harvey playing his 914th game. He's involved. The Kangaroos by 1 point, 30 seconds to go, and Harvey has the football.
So North Melbourne 10-16-76 to St Kilda 11-9-75. Well, just keep an eye on this while the final siren sounds, as North Melbourne look like they'll remain the only unbeaten side so far in 2016, as Charlie Dixon takes a strong mark. Broadbent with the pass in, and Dixon all of a sudden starting to look like the dominant forward that Port Adelaide hoped he might become.
Alan Christensen hurt in the middle of the ground too. Just
ankle, looks like, Jamo, doesn't it?
The quick clearances, you just can't help it. The height down there too. Just Harris Andrews, Marco Paparone, they just...
Yeah, Daniel Merritt certainly is a big loss out of their side with his bulk.
Dixon 30 metres out, directly in front. He kicks his second. And Port Adelaide are starting to get on top at the Adelaide Oval. They lead by 28 points, 10-4-64 to the Brisbane Lions, 5-6-36. In this second quarter, Port Adelaide 7 goals to the Lions 1. Walshy.
North Melbourne have won. They've won by a point, although there's a kick after the siren, and it might even be through for a goal. It is. Waite celebrating. Petrie's going to be cheered from the ground. But the fascination was free kick for out on the full, and the Kangaroo half forward stood there and waited for the clock to tick down until there was nothing left, and then came in right on the kick. He poked it through, and the Kangaroos 11-16-82 defeat St Kilda 11-9-75 and are still unbeaten.
So St Kilda with a narrow loss against Hawthorn, a good win against Melbourne last week, and almost spoiling North Melbourne's party. Port Adelaide move it forward, and Archie going back with the flight. A great mark after Jared Polak sent them forward once more. And after Brisbane did so well in the first quarter to lock it inside their attacking half, Port Adelaide very much getting on top in this second quarter.
They're monstered them, Clinchy, too. Inside 50, Stephen. 19-9 in favour of Port Adelaide. Nearly 40 more disposals, too, and 6 more marks, just right across all the metrics, really smashing Brisbane.
Just 1 goal this season for Archie, right on 50. It slides out to the right, as he couldn't get full purchase on it. Port Adelaide 10-5-65 to Brisbane 5-6-36. They lead by 29 points, and maybe another injury. We'll head down to James for Brisbane.
You there, James?
Yeah, sorry, Christensen's on the bench now, just being assessed by the physio and club doctor. It's just a lower right leg injury. I'm not sure whether it is his ankle or actually his lower leg. He's just going through a few tests at the moment, but it didn't look good when he came off. He had a trainer under each arm and was really struggling to put weight on it.
Port Adelaide 7 goals in this term and Brisbane 1. We're getting some vision through from the match between North Melbourne and St Kilda. Quite a few St Kilda players actually in tears at the end of the game, showing to be extremely distressed. They got back to level proceedings. North Melbourne win, and Drew Petrie can celebrate as Broadbent kicked the ball forward, then ran after his own kick, did it well, and he still got it. That's a solo effort, and then the ball is smothered in spectacular fashion there by Daniel Rich, and there'll be a throw in. Broadbent was pretty hungry, or he had about 10 stats in that little manoeuvre.
Just starting to get control of the ball around the stoppages, Port Adelaide. Brisbane were winning it early in that first quarter, but Port have rested that back.
And they've rested it back on the scoreboard. Trengove and Martin. Trengove seemed to lean all over Martin. No whistle. Boat ran through without the football. Bastonak's there, had it and lost it. Hand pass by Jonas out to Polak. Polak threw it on the ball, on the boot quickly, and it bounces. And away it goes for a throw-in as we hit now 32 and a half minutes in this term, but with 7 goals from Port and 1 from Brisbane. That's why we have to wait for just a little bit longer for the hot pies and pasties.
Gee, I like one of those.
Would you what? Throw in Martin and Trengove. Oh, Trengove sits on his backside, and Trengove's waving the arms around and saying that I was shepherded illegally. Not the case. And it will be Martin who kicks the Brisbane Lions out of trouble just before half-time.
Martin with a long kick looking for Walker. It's punched away from him by Holmes. A chance for Gardner, who picks it up in midfield, hacks it forward. Dane Zorko's got 2 to beat. Burne-Jones and Cracker can't work it out. They punch it down. Rich overran it. A chance for Jonas. Worked it to Ebert. Now to Cracker. Kicks looking for Wingard. Just got a hand to it, which was enough to control it going out of play. He can chip it over the top to Broadbent. Port Adelaide have got players on the overlap. Hand pass to Boat. Now to Archie. Not much inside the 50. Kicks looking for Tumpus, who was forced to spoil in the end as Hanley came from the side. And the siren rings out for half-time. A dominant quarter for Port Adelaide in which they kicked 7 goals 4 to Brisbane's 1 goal 2. They turned a 9-point deficit at quarter time into a 29-point lead at half-time. Port Adelaide 10-5-65 to the Brisbane Lions 5-6-30. The goal kickers, 2 goals to Dixon, Aaron Young, Wingard and Westhoff for Port Adelaide. Individuals to Broadbent and to Need. Meanwhile for Brisbane, all individual goal kickers, Zorko, Beams, Hanley and Lester. Also Shaki has 1 goal as well. So half-time at the Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide 10-5-65, Brisbane 5-6-30. At Docklands, North Melbourne prevailed by 7 points over St Kilda, 11-16-82 to St Kilda, 11-9-75. Mason Wood took a marker or had a shot on goal as the siren sounded. He stood there and watched on the big screen as the countdown clock ticked down, and obviously that took seconds off the game. Just early thought, is that in the right spirit of the game?
Well, I think he's got 30 seconds. He can do that, so why wouldn't you just take all that time to be able to do it? I mean,
smart play, isn't it?
Absolutely. So absolutely comfortable with it. Didn't need to put it in, even if...
Sorry, he didn't even have to kick it in the finish. He just had to stand there, and actually it looked like at one stage he wasn't going to kick it. Because when the siren blew, he then came in and kicked the goal.
Yep. So in the end, that's why the margin was 7 points. But, oh, gee, Drew Petrie, hey? 300 games and only the 5th player for the Kangaroos to achieve it.
You know what? For our Victorian listeners who didn't get the chance to hear it, obviously you're at the Adelaide Oval. Let's play you the last couple of minutes with the Kangaroos prevailing by 7 points and all the drama in which unfolded.
Hickey with the tap. A Shepherd, though, says the umpire. Free kick, North Melbourne. Hickey kept Goldstein out of the contest, according to the umpire. And Goldstein perhaps could have a shot here from 55 metres out. Hickey on the mark, right on the 50. Goldstein receiving some instruction from the runner. Imagine that's conveyance of how much time's left in the game. And there's not a lot of it. Goldstein just a score to put North Melbourne in front. A thumping left foot kick. Will it be a score? It's drifting left, but it is through for a minor.
What's the kicking?
North Melbourne by a point. North Melbourne by 1 point. And there's a minute to go in the game.
St Kilda flooding the corridor, at least at this stage. They go to the city side with a kick. The first part of the deal is good. They've got the ball in the back pocket, St Kilda with Membry. He wants to take the man on the mark on, and he does with a bounce. outside defensive 50. The kick through the hands of Gibson of North Melbourne. Loose ball. Ross collects for the Saints, dispossessed. Wait with a handball to Harvey. They go hard at half forward, the Kangaroos. It's out towards the boundaries and out of bounds on the full. It is. The kick just went that little bit too far, so a North Melbourne free kick. Billings was the one to just kick under pressure that little bit too far.
It's got to be to the boundary.
Surely
big contest.
So Harvey's not going to. He's going to sit it up into the pocket, perhaps hoping it'll go out of play. It hits the deck. It's collected by Savage. He gives to Nunes. He's tackled by Wood. Ball does go to play. Holding the ball. Where did that come from? Free kick to North Melbourne in the right forward pocket. That'll be the game. Because the seconds are ticking down.
Clock stopped, Al. So we've got 22
down
seconds.
Down to 22 and a shot to come for North in the pocket. Nunes. Wood got him and it wasn't a legal disposal. Was he already out of play? Good point, Brendan. Mason Wood on his return to the senior side for North Melbourne.
Left footer. It's in his pocket.
He can open up the angle here, Mason Wood. Heaving them in, such has been the high tempo of the game in the latter stages. He is sucking in the deep breaths. He's taking an eternity. Well, the clock hadn't stopped. He's just milked the clock down.
No,
the siren's gone. He shoots at goal.
He's kicked it.
And he has kicked an unbelievable goal. Somehow North Melbourne has survived. And with it, their unbeaten start to the season. They win by 7.
So North Melbourne prevailing 11-16-82 to St Kilda 11-9-75. The Kangaroos with 2 goals for in the final term to St Kilda's 4 goals, but they prevail unbeaten so far this season in Drew Petrie's 300th game. Membry and Revolt with 3 goals, while Higgins and Wood kicked 2 goals. Petrie also with 2 goals, and Ben Brown. Interesting, Brendan Goddard there in the experts chair with Adam Ramanauskas, Adam White and Alistair Nicholson calling the action. That'll be debated over the next 24 hours as to whether the countdown clock should be used like that, given the game clock had restarted.
It's there'll be some talk, but I can't see anything wrong with it at all.
Saints would have done the same thing,
yeah.
So they'd be coached to do that. It's just smart football, and Saints got a bit unlucky. They lost that close one to the Hawks in Tassie, and now this one, Alan Richardson certainly got them playing a great brand of footy.
Just give us a thought on Port Adelaide's second quarter, 7 goals to 1. I would say a couple of injuries as well for the Lions to Rockcliffe and Christensen.
Yeah, they're big injuries. Rockcliffe's as good a accumulator of possessions as there is in the game, and Christensen, whether in the midfield or up forward, he's a very dangerous small player. So if he can't come back, that certainly makes it tougher for the Lions. But after the Lions certainly controlled that first quarter, Port Adelaide really hit back. When you think plus 15 in contested possession, plus 21 in uncontested, and plus 10 in clearances, and plus 22 to 10 in inside 50. So after probably an even first 10 minutes of that second quarter, Port really started to take charge and made the most of their opportunity. So to be 9 points down at quarter time and then go in 29 up at half time, Ken Egley would be pleased. But they started to get that backline transition working a bit better. They were better around the stoppages. Well, we saw the Lions control that in the first quarter. Port started to get their hands on it. The hit-out still went in favour of the Lions, but it was 14-7. But Port Adelaide, particularly through Ollie Wines, really started to make a impact around those stoppages. And Charlie Dixon really dangerous up forward. Had 10 possessions in that quarter. 10 possessions, for the match, which is not bad for a big guy. He's taking a couple of marks and kicked a couple of goals. So a really good start to the game for him.
Yeah, Dane Zorko was one that kept winning the footy, Dane Beans, but a lot of the defence for Brisbane were the ones that had a lot of the football there. They just couldn't sustain the pressure. And up forward, it was one lucky goal to Ryan Lester. The other one, Josh Shackey, did not even touch the footy in that quarter, Clinchy.
So Port Adelaide at half-time lead by 29 points over the Brisbane Lions. As you would have heard earlier this morning, the nation will go to the polls on the 2nd of July to choose a new government and a new Senate. The Governor-General has accepted Malcolm Turnbull's request to dissolve both the Houses of Parliament. That sets into motion an 8-week election campaign. Political correspondent Louise Yaxley has this special election report.
The Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull flew into a rainy Canberra to see the Governor-General and then present his case for the Coalition's re-election.
Australians will have a very clear choice: to keep the course, maintain the commitment to our national economic plan for growth and jobs, or go back to Labor with its higher taxing, higher spending, debt and deficit agenda, which will stop our nation's transition to the new economy dead in its tracks.
The Labor leader Bill Shorten was in northern Tasmania, marking the 10th anniversary of the Beaconsfield mine collapse and the rescue of 2 miners.
This election, Australians have a clear choice. A choice between Labor's positive plans for the future and 3 more years of dysfunction, of dithering and of disappointment.
Tax will play a major role in this campaign. The company tax cut promised in last week's budget is at the centre of Mr Turnbull's pitch.
We are reforming our tax system to make it more sustainable and fit for purpose in the 21st century. We have established and are establishing the toughest anti-avoidance laws in the developed world. We believe in lower taxes. We do. But it is not optional to pay them. Multinationals will have to pay their fair share in Australia. The laws we are setting in place are the world's best. And we are providing tax relief for Australian businesses with our enterprise tax plan, beginning with smaller businesses with a turnover of $10 million or less, and then working up so that after 10 years, all Australian companies will be paying 25% corporate tax rather than 30%, making our tax rate more competitive, providing the incentives for investment and for jobs. And we're providing relief for middle income earners so that people in the middle income bracket do not move into the second highest tax bracket in the way they otherwise would.
Bill Shorten opposes extending the company tax cut, arguing he has other priorities.
Now, every election is about trust. Trust Labor to deliver better jobs and reasonable conditions. Trust Labor to stand up for schools, TAFE, childcare, universities. Trust Labor to protect Medicare and bulk billing. Trust Labor to take real action on climate change, focusing on renewable energy. Trust Labor to ensure that Australian women get a fair go. Trust Labor to make sure that multinationals pay their fair share. Trust Labor to conduct budget repair that is fair.
But the style and personality of the 2 leaders will be another main element between now and July.
I frankly think it is amazing that in Mr Turnbull's pitch to be re-elected, he didn't even mention climate change. He famously said that he didn't want to lead a party that wasn't interested in climate change. Now he's airbrushed climate change out of his presentation altogether. Mr Turnbull has great difficulties being true to himself because he doesn't control his party. For better or for worse, I and my party are in lockstep. We have shared values and positive plans for Australia.
Our opponents are promising to increase income tax. They're opposing a tax cut for Australian businesses. They are proposing to increase capital gains tax by 50%, a tax on investment.
The Greens leader Richard Di Natale was in Newcastle at a protest calling for Australia to move from fossil fuels to renewables.
What we will be taking to this election campaign is a clear position on some key issues. Tackling dangerous global warming, a bit more decency and compassion towards those innocent people who are coming to us seeking protection, who want us to look after them because they're enduring suffering thanks to the conflicts, many of them that we have contributed to. We're a party that's saying, let's tackle income inequality. Let's make that growing gap between the rich and poor, let's bridge that gap, and let's start raising money from the big end of town, ending those unfair tax breaks, and making sure that we can work towards an Australia where we tackle dangerous global warming, we make the transition to a new economy, we look after those people seeking asylum, and we tackle the growing gap between the rich and poor.
Voters have until the 23rd of May to ensure they're enrolled for the poll on the 2nd of July.
Red Simons.
Man is retiring from radio in America, a famous person called Garrison Keillor. I believe he did about 5 decades of broadcasting or more, and he was asked what constitutes a good broadcast? And he said it's simple. He said people crave for your voice and you've got to have a twinge of eccentricity. So, Red, you fill the bill admirably.
And so do you, Robert. So do you.
Red Simons, weekdays from 5:30 on 774 ABC Melbourne.
Grandstand AFL.
You're with Grandstand.
Toss back in, Martin won it down, straight to Young, turns on the right boot, snaps a goal. That's what's been missing for Port Adelaide, and Aaron Young didn't waste his chance.
Over to Pittard, the ball now will be kicked by the man who's got the hyphen, Burne-Jones, towards full forward, Dixon holds the mark. This for the lead for Port Adelaide. Dixon goal, Port 5-2-32, Brisbane 4-6-30.
Now the Lions under pressure. Bastanak loses it. A chance for Archie. And passes it out to Need, who can turn and run. Gets to 45. He steadies and he goals. Port Adelaide string three together to start the second quarter. Wingard comes out and leads. Got hands. The ball is held in the marking contest. Clay Beams had a bit of his jumper. Wingard comes in. Starts it left. Curls it round to the right. And Port Adelaide have kicked 4 goals in this second term.
Christensen picked it up. The kick didn't travel too far. He gets some support from Keys. Almost. It skids through. And Keys reckons he's kicked it.
I think it's a goal. Tom Jonas went to smother it and the ball actually went over the top of him.
Resulted in the first goal of the quarter for Brisbane.
Dixon 30 metres out, directly in front. He kicks his second. And Port Adelaide are starting to get on top at the Adelaide Oval. They lead by 28 points.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Local Radio and on digital radio ABC Grandstand.
A 7-1 second quarter as Port Adelaide turned a 9-point deficit into a 29-point advantage at half-time. The Power 10-5-65 to the Lions 5-6-36. 2 goals to Young, Dixon, Westhoff and Wingard for the Power. The Lions have injury concerns. Tom Rockcliffe looked to do a hamstring midway through that second quarter, and Alan Christensen finished on the bench. You heard the thrilling closing stages of North Melbourne's win over St Kilda, Drew Petrie's 300th game. They remain the only unbeaten side in the AFL. Tim Hodges caught up with Nick Del Santo after the game.
Thanks for your time, Nick. That was a strange old game we were just talking about before, and a very strange finish.
Yeah, it was. It actually felt like the whole game was a little bit weird at stages. You feel like you get a feel for how the modern game's being played. And, we're 7 weeks in, and it just felt a little bit different for whatever reason. But we couldn't get any flow going. I think St Kilda's pressure was fantastic. They set up sort of a little bit of a zone at times, so it sort of made our ball movement a little bit stagnant. But within that, it's nice to be able to win different ways. And I think we mentioned that last week after playing the Bulldogs, that was a heavily contested and heavily stoppage game, and we got through that. So it's nice to just be able to win different ways, and ultimately it's just nice to be able to win.
Brendan was just saying that upstairs a bad team would have actually lost that game after that dreadful final term, but you still found a way to get the 4 points and remain a game clear on top of the ladder.
Yeah, we tried to lose it a few times throughout the night, unfortunately. There's things to still improve on, and we're talking about it during the week that, at this stage, we were 6-0 last week, and we felt like we hadn't played the best footy, and it just gives us an opportunity to get better. And our reviews each Monday or Tuesday, whenever it may be, early in the week, it's definitely not patting each on the back. They're actually pretty critical and highly intense. So we've still got some room for improvement, which is good, but we need to start putting it into place, because otherwise we'll eventually get caught out at some stage this year anyway. But you just need to keep improving throughout the year.
Got a couple of curly questions coming from your good mate BJ upstairs.
I'll fire a couple back at him if he wants.
Hey, I'm asking the questions
now.
Okay, mate. Good win, mate. Was there actually a plan going in today to create the spare at either end? And if you don't want to give away too much, but who really initiated? Because we felt up here, like you said, it was a strange game where going forward, there actually wasn't a lot of space, because every time you guys actually got out, all the Saints got out, there's always a +1, so you struggle to find that space. Yeah,
it felt like that actually after probably quarter time, when you get a chance to have a bit of a breather and you realise that you're probably doing okay at the stoppages, but we're not getting much out of it. And I thought the Saints set up really well behind the ball, and a few of our kicks out of stoppages, which would generally go to a contest, they're actually marking. So it wasn't deliberate, Beach. There's certain times within the game or certain structures that the opposition do that, allows you to get a +1, or you have to play man on man, which is fine either way. But I just thought we were a little bit out of position in certain things. It just took us a little bit longer to probably adjust than we would have thought. But we worked through that, and that's just another challenge for the group to be able to do it on the run.
Daniel Wells' effort at the end of the game to come back on the ground. He looked like he had a severe corky, but some of those efforts just in front of us here on the wing, him and Jack Siebel, were amazing just to drive that ball forward for you to allow you to score.
Yeah, I don't know if Wellesley was the 19th man on the ground. I don't know where he came from, to be honest, because I think there was the deliberate out of bounce right in front of the bench.
Yeah.
And we're obviously semi-panicking, running back, trying to help out where we can in defence. And I turn around and Wellesley smothering a guy on the boundary line. So I'm not sure where he came from, but it was very timely. Just gives us another opportunity to obviously have a boundary throw-in and probably neutralise the ball a little bit rather than being in their forward line.
How often?
So the thoughts there of Nick Del Santo with our grandstand team in Melbourne. That full interview is up on our Twitter account at ABC AFL, and all our interviews we conduct at the end of each game we post on SoundCloud, and drop a look at the ABC website, abc.net.au/grandstand. Here at the Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide lead by 29 points, 10-5-65 to the Lions 5-6-30. Matt Clinch and Peter Walsh calling the action. Rod Jamieson and Stephen Williams, your experts. James Coventry down on the boundary. Tom Rockcliffe looks like his night's done. Jamo and Steve, can we see Alan Christensen out there warming up?
Yeah, I saw him warming up, so he looks like he's moving okay, which is a good sign for the Lions.
Just having a look at a deeper forward line for Brisbane. Josh Walker's only had 2 disposals to half-time. Josh Shackey's only had 4. Ryan Lester 4, and he got 1 goal in that second quarter. Tom Bell's had 8, and he's kicked 1 point, and Ben Keys is also struggling. So a number of their key forwards, Walshy, haven't had an impact on the game.
Yes, at one stage at the start of that second term, they were right in business, but
Mitch Robertson
goals to
too.
1.
Yeah, he's the surprising one, isn't
3
he?
disposals to half-time.
North Melbourne, 28 points. The Cats, the Swans, 24. The Dogs, GWS, Hawthorn, 20. The Eagles, the Crows, and Melbourne, joined by Port Adelaide if they win today, all on 16. It's a tight contest in the AFL. Who knows? Which way will this game spin? Will Port Adelaide maintain its supremacy? Rod Jamieson opens the window and we're greeted with a blast of May, winter, and it's quite neat and tidy if you've got no clothes to put on.
Take it all in.
The drums are beating. The Warriors are in readiness to start the second half of football. It's tossed in the air. Martin versus Trengove. Martin's second effort is good. And the Beanstalk kicks across to Zorko. Couldn't take the mark. Rushing back towards the centre wing. Well gathered there by Ebert. Ebert's hand pass, neat and tidy to Young. Young over the top to half forward. That's good running too. Trengove ran down the ground, took it. Hand pass back to Young, who missed it. Untidy work. Kick back there by Lester towards the centre wing. It bounces and bounces and goes over for a boundary throw. And so, a bit of untidy work. Port getting the ball out of the middle, getting it forward. But a skill error. And let's restart proceedings. Rockcliffe, a forlorn look as he sits on the boundary. He's out of contention with that Dicky hamstring. From the boundary throw in, rushing in Bastanak, tried to knock it forward. Ebert's in there, he does the hard work. Kicked away towards where Dane Beams does well, but his kick is poor. Polak got away, got a hand pass. Play allowed to go on, he gave it to Boak. Boak across his body, Pittard chases, he picks it up. Keys rushes in, he tries to put some pressure on him. He's kicked down towards full forward, off the back of the pack. Wingard, hand pass, Westhoff, Ebert snaps a goal. Brisbane would be very angry. No strong tackles issued, and Ebert snagged one. Opening seconds of this third term, Port Adelaide 11-5-71. The Brisbane Lions 5-6-36. It took a minute and a half, but that is an energy-sapping goal, and Brisbane would hurt big time.
I think it just sort of epitomises, I guess, that second quarter. When you have a look here on the monitor, that handball went out. Westhoff is there. Watch Zorko's tackle. He just slipped straight off him. Didn't even really, just brushed him aside, and he was able to handball off to Brad Ebert too. But just a number of fumbles by Brisbane. McStay now has gone up forward. Not that it really matters who you put down there. If the footy's not going to get there, it's going to be difficult to get on the scoreboard.
Did so well to lock it in their front half in that first quarter, but it's been all Port Adelaide since. Wines with the clearance over the head of Dixon. Got a hand to it. Impey crumbed it beautifully. Now he's tackled and holding the footy. Andrews with the tackle, and Impey didn't get the hand pass away correctly. So Andrews with the free kick under the old scoreboard. Port Adelaide heading to the Cathedral end in this third quarter. He kicks to half back. Holmes in front position. Punches it away for Port Adelaide. comes to Hartlett, now to Paul Stewart. Off the right boot, kicks to half forward. Zorko, Dane Beams it was, who couldn't take the mark with one hand. Now it's trouble as Mays is tackled. Young takes him to the turf and will have a ball up only about 45 metres out from Port Adelaide's goal.
Port's pressure's really ramped up since that first quarter. Brisbane finding it really hard to transition that footy outside their back 50.
Trying to get the ball away, but unfortunately not working. Let's have a look at this. 8 goals to 1 since quarter time. Boundary throw in. Kick quickly out of the pack by Buick back towards centre wing.
Haven't looked like that either, Walsh.
No, they've been disappointing, all right. Walker.
That goal from Ryan Lester in that second quarter, they were lucky to get that.
It seems like an eternity ago. They kicked 1 goal to 7, and of course with even scoring that goal, it makes it even more difficult as Beams kicks long back towards centre wing. Offhands Cracker, got rid of it cleverly. Jonas went to Cracker, who in turn knocked it back towards Boak, towards the boundary line, and it's deliberate. People know now, and they like to roar about something that is not in dispute, and Brisbane get the free kick as Dane Beams goes in short to half forward, marked by Bastanak. He'll turn. Christensen makes the lead, and he floats a high ball. Pretty tough for his forward. Martin's crept down into the attacking zone. He can't grab it, and there's a wild kick out of the back, and it goes, I think, over the line. That was Lester who threw the ball on the boot, but he has, in fact, made the goal umpire do some work, and it's a one-flag result. Brisbane Lions are 5-7-37. Port Adelaide 11-5-71. 4 gone third term.
Pittard with a long kick in, looked for Wines on the lead and win the free kick. Brisbane almost had half a chance to claim it back, but Wines impeded by Gardner. He quickly takes it. Impey was waiting an eternity. Zorko went back with the flight, punched the high ball away towards the boundary line. It rolls. Impey keeps it alive at half forward. Eventually it rolls over, and Hanley's happy to see it across.
Really worked into the game, Ollie Wines, after a slow start. He's had 19 disposals so far, and really good around the clearances. 6 clearances.
Equal with Zorko and Beams, as the Dane Beams, that is, leading possession getter on the ground. Martin in front position from the throw-in, tapped it down to Bastanak, shoved away Boak and then kicked around the corner. Tough ball for Shaki as it bounced right in front of him. Bell knocks it on. Brisbane with the numbers. Rich squeezes a kick forward. Now this is out on the full. It's tough being a Brisbane Lions forward at the moment. The ball not really being delivered with much purchase. And O'Shea takes the free kick. Plays on, gets a block from Broadbent as he chips across his defensive goal mouth, and Tom Jonas takes the mark in the right back pocket. Not much run for Jonas, so he might switch play once more. It's not a great kick. Bell's after it, got his hands to it, couldn't claim the mark. Tied up against the boundary line. Great pickup, got away from Cracker. Squeezes the kick towards the goal mouth. Tapped down, socket off the ground by Christensen. Not quite the 1-2 execution we saw from the Dogs last night. Leicester trying to get involved. And it's through for a minor score. Port Adelaide by 33 points.
Take the game on is Ken Hinkley's manager, but do it with some common sense as well.
Pittard kicks the ball into play from that behind. Hartlett does some good work by shepherding Need. Slides the hand pass. Impey's at centre wing. Gives to Boak. He'll go with the left foot towards the half-forward line. He's overcooked that kick. That's hard to say, actually. And Wingard rushing back. Sees the ball skid over the boundary line. A poor disposal then. Boak looked to have time. But the kick was astray, and it's over for a boundary throw-in.
Did you see that goal last night? Stringer swapped it to Caleb Daniel, who socketed on the goal line. If you haven't seen it, you will in the week coming, don't worry.
Stringer's some sort of a player, isn't he? Hartlett got through traffic, went to Broadbent. Stephen Martin smothered that. Zorko picks up. Got a hand pass out of trouble. Over the top. Chance now for McStay. McStay to Christensen for Brisbane. Christensen, the hand pass for Leicester. Too far for that player. Knocked on there by Bell. Bell to Christensen, who's tackled. Umpire says, I'll think about it. I'll think about it just a little more, and after I've thought about it, give it to me, please. Score check here at the Adelaide Oval. We have, at the moment, Port 11-5-71, Brisbane 5-8-38, 7 minutes gone third term.
Trengo won the tap, but straight to Dane Beams of the Lions, who gives it to Christensen. High kick looking for Walker, coming from the side as Jonas punches it away for Port Adelaide. Pittard's happy to take it across the line as he rides the tackle of Bastanak and a boundary throw-in.
Just their delivery inside 50 now, Jamo. It's just a long bomb, makes it really tough for those forwards and plays into the hands of the Port defenders who can just punch the ball.
Tom Rockcliffe sits on the bench out having done his hamstring midway through the second quarter. Martin's kick is picked off by O'Shea, comes towards Impey. He's surrounded by a couple of Lions, brushes off Zorko. Then the hand pass to Pittard, a little fumble up against the boundary. And in the end, Zorko steps it across the line down to James Coventry.
It's interesting you say Rockcliffe sitting on the bench. He's actually been standing for the whole of this quarter. He's actually been very active and very vocal here, and almost acting as an extra assistant coach for the Lions and talking to the players as they come off.
Yes, real frustrations. Anyone getting wounded, as we had Robbie Gray in the box earlier on. Now that's deliberate. Out of the pack, Broadbent's kick. Well, yeah, I'll move on.
I'll accept that one, though. That one, he had nothing else, no other intention.
Good acceptance, Rod. Harwood, Sebastianak, towards the half-forward line. The kick was pretty accurate. And
that's a better kick.
Strong mark, too, by Ryan Lester.
First time Walshy that they've actually lowered the eyes.
Well, he's lowered the eyes and he's hit Bell and it's bounced straight off Dingerling, and he'd be horrified by that mistake. Now Lester's ping for holding the ball. Surely, umpire says, I don't know where I've left my whistle. He'll blow it in a minute and he'll call for a bounce.
Yeah, poor umpiring. Certainly terrific tackle. The ball just fell out. Should have been holding the ball, but the umpires have been pretty good on that for most of the day, but for some reason they let that one go.
Tom Bell. You can't dig a hole. Wouldn't mind doing that. Kevin Martin got up, tried to knock it away. The boozer, because that's been shown on the big screen as Westhoff has it at half-back. And Westhoff has taken high with what looked to be a rather innocuous flick over the head, but he gets the free kick at half-back. 11-5 to 5-8 Port lead.
And he chips it to the back of the square where Burne-Jones just took the mark as Walker came in from the side. Gave the hand pass away and released Pittard. Drew a couple of opponents and the hand pass to Holmes. Centre wing on the outer side. Kicks in the 50 looking for Dixon. 3 to beat. And a good mark from Gardner. Who had to stand his territory knowing that Dixon would be charging at him. Showed great composure and excellent courage. The relieving kick out of defence. The Lions trail by 33 points. Martin in front position. Shaki, great juggling mark. And the number 2 draft pick for the Lions has it at left half back. He's played at various times in defence and attack. Mostly attack tonight. McStay underneath the high footy. Punched away from him by Pittard. Broadbent overran the footy. Robinson picks it up. Hacks it forward. That's towards the line. Is that deliberate?
Has to be.
Umpire says throw it in. It's hard to judge between the skill errors and just the blatant kicks that are to gain territory.
He hasn't had much of the footy tonight too, so I think that's just one that he just wanted to get it onto his boot and get it down the line.
Good on you, Mitch. Stick it up him out there, buddy. Oh, you're stirring him up over there. Mitch Robinson, one of my favourite players, from the boundary throw in. Chance now for Buick. Buick on the boundary line, hooked it hard and high. And they're still hooting and jeering. That's through for a behind. Brisbane Lions 5-9-39. Port Adelaide 11-5-71. There's always going to be consternation and dissatisfaction about a decision, and that one caused plenty.
1 goal 5 since quarter time for the Brisbane Lions. They trail by 32 points. Long kick in from Cracker. Andrews made the spoil. A chance for the Lions. Comes to Dane Beams from 50 out. He misses to the near side. A long shot at goal. So 1 goal 6 since quarter time, and the Power lead by 31 points.
Still finding plenty of the footy, isn't he, for his first game? Dane Beams had 22 disposals, 6 clearances, 11 contested, 11 uncontested. So a really good first back game.
Pittard's kick, well taken by Dixon. Hand passes to his fellow bearded one in Westhoff, who gives to Wingard, who runs with 1 bounce. Now 2. Still running fairly quickly. Now 3. He's within 50. He kicks with his right boot. How dare he? He misses. Slams into the post and stops what could quite be, that was Impey, could quite conceivably have been the goal of the game, but it wasn't. Hit the post. Port Adelaide 11-6-72. Brisbane 5-10-40. 12 gone in this term.
Hanley takes the mark at half-back. He'll look to kick around the boundary line. Tough one for the Lions forwards. Caught from behind was Keys and also McStay, and it goes out of play. Port Adelaide by 32 points. We mentioned the Lions have kicked 1 goal 6 since quarter time. Port Adelaide have kicked 8 goals 5. And at 32 points the margin, you feel like this game could very quickly slip out of control. Martin taps it down, then soccers it off the ground towards the boundary line. Port Adelaide players appeal for deliberate, and they'll get it.
That's the inconsistencies, isn't it? That was probably less deliberate than Mitch Robinson's, but that's that's the way it goes. Gives the crowd something to yell at, I suppose.
Jonas takes the free kick. Wines caught from behind, and Mitch Robinson with a great mark at half back. Tom Rockcliffe had a chat to Robinson over the last couple of weeks about getting the balance right between his aggression and his attack on the footy. To half forward, Shaki can't take the mark. Keys is after it. Paul Stewart came in from the side. Rich with the hand pass, gave it to Martin. Now Keys, a chance to finish. Curls from left to right and misses. Another behind for the Brisbane Lions, who are 5 goals, 11-41. To Port Adelaide, 11-6-72.
And they've only had one rush behind as well. Multiple players kick behind.
5 behinds this quarter. Broadbent kicks towards where Robinson hit him in the head. Bounces towards the boundary line. He tries to do the diving. Not quite successful. Collisions coming up. Knocked away on the ground. Paparoni is down there and it's gone over the boundary line. Everybody looks now when the ball goes over the line. It doesn't matter where, because there's a quick glance to see whether deliberate will be paid. Paparone running back now and following Dixon. He's out there because Merritt was crook and couldn't play, and Simon Black, one of the coaches, he was crook too. Something they ate, and they're not happy. Both at the back of the pack, picks it up. Kicks towards the half-forward line. Needs busy. Needs quick. As he run over the boundary line, he has it. He's still going. He can go to Dixon if he wants him. He could have gone to Dixon if he wants, but he didn't. He decided to go to Wingard.
Yeah, terrific play, wasn't it? Could have blazed away, but just had the poise to see Chad Wingard. They're not an easy kick for a left footer, but you would imagine a player with the skill of Chad Wingard should kick it. But if he can kick this jam, that makes it tough, doesn't it? The Lions have done all that attacking and kicked point after point, and then Port go up forward one of the rare times this quarter and have a real opportunity.
1-1 in this quarter, Port Adelaide. Brisbane have kicked 5 behinds. Wingard, tight angle. Left boot to ball on its way and the goal. And that hurts big time. With Wingard kicking his third. And Port Adelaide 12-6-78. Brisbane stationary. They're 5-11-41. We've gone 15 minutes of this term. And all of the efforts for Brisbane thwarted now by that kick forward and that goal. Port 2-1 in the term to Brisbane 5 behinds.
Particularly that last, Ben Keys goes forward. He's got all the work and he's kicked 2 behinds, one in the second, one in the third. A couple of easy shots. The frustration on the monitor of Justin Lepich, the look on his face as he just puts his head in his hands. And then it just goes down the other end as Stephen highlighted, and it just hurts.
James commentary on the boundary.
Paul Stewart just came to the bench and there was a buzz of activity with the medical staff checking him out. I'm not quite sure what's happened to him, but he's gone down to the rooms.
Martin won the tap, but Westhoff got the clearance, kicked to half forward, punched away by Claim Beams from Young. Now Buick's problem. He's tackled by Polek over the boundary line, and the umpire says throw it in. The inside 50s are 7 apiece in this third quarter, but Port Adelaide have kicked 2 goals, 1 to Brisbane's 5 behinds. The power by 37 points. Toss back into play. Westhoff in the ruck, got rid of Martin. Now gets the kick inside the 50. Wingard comes racing out. Gardner threw a boot at it. Hartlett almost picked it up beautifully. Now Need brushes off a tackle, throws it onto the boot, and he misses everything. Out on the full to the right-hand side. No change to the score. Port Adelaide by 37.
16 gone. Third quarter. Too many Brisbane fans, I can tell you. We hardly hear a murmur when the visitors get near the ball. Martin got up high, couldn't take the grab. His hand pass to Robinson, put him under all sorts of pressure. He paddled it over the line. Pollock was standing behind him then, so it was a pretty tough ask to get the ball and to do something with it.
He needs to get into the game, Walsh. He only 6 disposals, 2. Clay Beams has only had 4. He's playing in defence.
Big raps on Justin Lepich, as you mentioned earlier, Jamo, about having their best midfield for the season. Well, they haven't produced in this game. They've been spasms, but nothing particular. They really haven't worked all that well. Bell kicks in defence back towards the centre wing. Hobbs picked it up, lost it. Oh, he ducked into a tackle. Keys tackled him well. Play on's the call. Here's the hand pass. Polak. Now it's Pittard over the top. Chance now for Hobbs. And Hobbs will do the clearing for Port Adelaide.
He finds O'Shea, who runs it from half back. We welcome our Tasmanian, Western Australian and Northern Territory listeners to the Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide by 37 points as they send it forward once more. Andrews punches it away and it rolls out of play Matt Clinch and Peter Walsh calling the action. Rod Jamieson and Stephen Williams, your experts. James Coventry down on the boundary. The Lions led by 9 points at quarter time, kicking 4 goals to 3. Port Adelaide in the third term kicked 7 goals to the Brisbane Lions, 1 behind, and set up a 29-point advantage. And in this third quarter, the Power with a couple of goals to the Lions, a couple of behinds. Boat gives it to Wines and kicks inside the 50, and Pierce Hanley takes the mark. For Lions supporters, unfortunately, Tom Rockcliffe has suffered a hamstring injury in the second quarter. He hasn't returned to the match, so the Lions, one player down on the bench, and Port Adelaide have just made them pay with their opportunities in front of goal. Robertson can't claim it for the Lions. Polak can, he chips it, and Ollie Wines takes the mark. 45 metres out, pretty much directly in front for Port Adelaide to look to add to their 37-point lead.
Jared Polak's had 13 disposals, going at 87%, but that's the one thing you can be assured of when he gets hold of the footy. He just makes really good decisions. He's such an important player for Port Adelaide. Dropped a couple of weeks ago by Ken Hinkley, but Hinkley knows how important he is, and he brought him back. Got a bit of confidence against Richmond and is starting to work his way into the match tonight.
Ollie Wines comes in from 52, doesn't quite get the full purchase on it. Dixon competes for it. In the end, Gardner ensured it went through for a minor score, and Port Adelaide lead by 38 points. For our listeners just joining us, you'll know that North Melbourne won over St Kilda by 7 points in Drew Petrie's 300th match.
Hanley kicks long for Brisbane around towards the half-back line. Even takes a strong mark. With the hand pass. Training goes. Hand passes to Hartlett. Hartlett to Pittard, who likes to take on traffic. Runs clear of Bastanak. Kicks long in towards centre-half forward. Back of the pack, it's all Brisbane. Good work there by Harwood, who tapped it forward. Kick wobbles. Back towards Bastanak. Over the top, Stephen Martin. Clearance now, hand pass Christensen. Christensen at centre wing. Oh, he doesn't know what to do. So he floats a really difficult mark to take towards the half-forward line. Lester got up, couldn't quite take it. Rushes back in, got a hand pass. That's good work. Kick now by Dane Beams across towards centre-half forward. A real chance now for Brisbane. Twisting and turning down there is McStay. He knocks the ball away. Keys, his best mate, charges after it. Now, was there a whistle? Did it go? Over the shoulder, the call.
Hanging on against Keys.
And Keys is the man who'll get the free kick. Doing the heavy work down there. And Keys has the chance to kick a Brisbane goal that, to say it's much needed, is an understatement. They've only kicked 1 goal 7 since quarter time, and Port Adelaide have kicked 9 goals 6.
Tough kick for a left footer. We saw him miss a fairly easy one running through the 50, so let's hope for Brisbane's sake he can slot this.
Ben Keys on his way in. No, always staying left and through for another behind. So 6 behinds in this quarter for Brisbane, and they are 5-12-42 to Port 12-7-79. Almost 21 minutes gone. Grandstand AFL, ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
Ben Keys has kicked 3 of those, Walshy.
Yeah.
What's happened here?
Now Nathan Cracker's going to get a 50-metre penalty.
Is that Alan Christensen?
Yeah. No, it's against somebody in the middle of the ground. Number 25 umpire paid it, so not sure what it was for.
So Cracker looks to spread the ball with Pittard. Picked it up on the half volley, so play on is the call. Goes short to Paul Stewart, and he takes the mark. He's going to kick for Hartlett. Just kicks into space slightly in front of him, and Hartlett takes the mark between wing and half forward. Port Adelaide by 37 points. Plenty of directing as to where they want to go. Chad Corns almost gets a touch the runner for Port Adelaide as they go back to Pittard, and now all the way back to centre-half, back to Cracker. Chips it over the top to Polak, who marks in the middle of the ground. He's called to play on. Turns inboard, runs his full measure, then goes for Dixon. Comes out on the lead. Robinson got in the middle, and it's going to be a free kick for Too High. And it will be Mitch Robinson's free kick. James Coventry on the boundary.
You heard Paul Stewart called in that previous chain of plays. He's back on the field after coming back out of the Port Adelaide room. He's got his left shoulder strapped. He had a couple of Panadol before he went back on the field.
James Coventry and most of his family here today, which is a good thing. Providing plenty of audio in the background as Beams of the Dane variety found Martin. Kicks towards the half-forward line. A big leak there by McStay. He got out of the pack. Kept on running. Here's the chance now for Buick. He's got it. Buick on the left boot. Oh, he's missed. Oh, Justin Lepich, you would be feeling ordinary with a capital O. Another behind. 7 in this term. 5-13-43, the Brisbane Lions Port 12-7-79, almost 23 gone.
Just need to be a bit more calm, don't they? That was another opportunity, really not under a lot of pressure, but just rushed his kick and missed another fairly gettable goal.
Pittard with a long kick in, flying from the side was Ebert. It's going to be a Port Adelaide free kick. Advantage is paid, and they're out. Young finds Westhoff on the wing. He can run his full measure, chips it into the path of Impey, who marks 50 from home. Wingard offers the lead. Impey might go himself, and he finishes. For all Brisbane's attempts and inability to slot between the two big sticks, Port Adelaide run it down the other end and do it as easy as that. They extend their lead to 42 points. The Power with 3 goals in this third term to the Brisbane Lions 7 behinds. 13-7-85 to Brisbane 5-13-43.
A lot of stats in footy, Jamo, but I think number one is accuracy. If you can kick goals, Brisbane have had so many opportunities this quarter, just frittered them away, 7 behinds. Port have gone forward a lot less and made the most of their chances.
Really glowing of Brisbane in that first quarter. Part of the second quarter, their defence, their structure, their clearance work, how strong they were. But in this third quarter, non-existent. Port Adelaide players getting out, clearance too easy and running past Port Adelaide players.
Here it goes again. Ebert, centre wing, blasts the ball a long way. Need uses his body. Wingard went without it. It's close to going over the line. It does in the right forward pocket. Before that magnificent scoreboard that we see when our cricket is on, it's just quite magnificent, and it's got Happy Mother's Day there emblazoned across it. And Port giving their fans something to cheer about. Stephen Martin does well, the big man. Quick right boot to ball out to the half-back line. 2-on-1, Homps out there, and he cleverly knocks it away from Josh Shackey, and there'll be another boundary throw in. 13-7-85 Port Adelaide. Brisbane Lions are 5-13-43. At half-time they were 5-6-36. There's some noise at last. 25 gone third quarter.
The two number 12s competing, Trengove and Martin. They bring each other to ground. It's got to be a free kick, and it's going to be Brisbane's way. They haven't dominated the ruck, the Lions, as much as you would think. They've dominated the hit-outs, but not the clearances. The hit-outs 45-17, but the clearances Port Adelaide's way 35-29. No designated ruckman, with Matthew Lobe out with a knee injury for about 10 weeks. Martin kicks to centre wing. It's off hands and over the boundary line and a throw in.
Hasn't really had that impact around the ground, neither has he, Stephen Martin, that he normally has. So Trengove and Westhoff and Dixon have done a pretty good job to nullify his influence.
Dougal Howard played his second game last week, but back to the sample for him as Polak takes it from the throw in. Kicks to half forward, bouncing ball. Claybeam slides in. He's tackled by Archie now. Needs to try and knock it out. He goes once more. It comes to Hanley. He's tackled by Impey. Archie had it for a moment, lost it. Bastanak with an up and under kick for the Brisbane Lions, and Pittard is deemed to have taken the mark. It must have just gone the required distance inside the centre square.
Congestion in Port's forward line. Pittard takes on the tackler and now runs away from Christensen. He's caught holding the ball. Super chase from Alan Christensen. Not much of him, but he was busy. And as soon as he grabbed hold of the jumper of Pittard, that was always going to be, yep, well done, Bastanak's on the end of his kick.
It was almost a Kevin Bartlett, wasn't it? Bounced it out in front.
It's been a while. It's been a long time as the kick up forward is marked by Rich.
Jasper's never going to die wondering, though. That's the thing I think Ken Hinkley likes about him. He just keeps taking the game on. He's going to make some mistakes, but...
Yeah, well, that's a poor kick from Rich. And from behind Archer, that was Stewart who got a whack. And he'll get the free kick. And there's a little bit of angst down there as Pomps gets across and says to Josh Walker, get out of the way. He probably didn't say that, but he was fairly vocal. Stewart just dabs the ball around towards the half-back line. Martin at the second grab, he's paid. He lumbers back, and as I've indicated, the same with Matt during the call, there's hardly any noise at all whenever Brisbane get near the contest. The kick into the forward pocket, off hands, and it skids away just before where the Brisbane Lions charge onto the ground. Score check here at 27 minutes in the term. Port Adelaide 13-7-85, Brisbane 5-13-43.
Stephen Martin's had 18 disposals, Jackson Trengove 16, so they've probably had a pretty good duel together.
Martin one down the tap, but just following up in that theme, Boat got the clearance. Kicks to centre wing towards the boundary line. Need races after it. He'll trap it inside it. A beautiful little sidestep to get round Harwood. Hand kicks looking for Wines at half forward. He takes the mark. He can chip it into the pocket. Westhoff sits underneath it. Good work from Andrews, who did enough not to give away the free kick. No, he didn't. He grabbed the jumper as he lost his footing. And Westhoff, should I say, will have the shot on goal. He wouldn't be more than 13 or 14 metres out.
It's the lack of pressure up in their attacking area. They couldn't keep it in. They did it so well in that first half. They're just almost non-existent in this third quarter, Brisbane, with their pressure and their defensive work, particularly around the clearances.
So Westhoff with a couple of goals so far tonight, one in each quarter, to extend Port Adelaide's lead and keep the good times rolling. Port Adelaide pushed their lead out to 48 points. They booted 4 goals to 7 behinds in this third term. The Power 14-7-91 to the Brisbane Lions 5-13-43. 29 minutes played in the third term. Earlier this afternoon, North Melbourne, the only unbeaten side in the AFL still, 11-16-82 to St Kilda 11-9-75.
Jack Need was the player that opened that one up, wasn't it? Over on the boundary line there, a one-on-one contest. He was able to just get around his Brisbane opponent, and once he did that, Port Adelaide certainly were on. They had the numbers and finished with a goal to Westhoff.
Heading to three-quarter time. Andrews having a run on the ball. Got rid of it nicely there and tapped to Dane Beams. He's kicked a half forward, superbly caught. Well done indeed, Byrne-Jones, and now holding the ball. He ran and he had the jumper tugged. And Robinson now.
Ben Keys was the tackler.
Yeah, well, Robinson wanted the free kick, but Keys, because he was the tackler, gets the free kick. Thumps it in towards half forward. Hand pass out of the pack. It's well taken by Pittard, whose kick was all right to Need. Now Need's off. He runs quickly. Here's one. Need, will it come to him? No, it doesn't. Will he go back and try and get it? Of course he will. He doesn't need to. Through the pack. Here's Byrne-Jones towards the half-forward line. He does that beautifully. Over the top. Chance now for Westhoff. He dabs. Wingard marks. Need was, as you say, Stephen and Rod, taking the game on. He couldn't quite get that slippery ball back in his mitts. But down the ground it went. And a little pass from Westhoff saw Wingard mark directly in front 35 out.
Just a classic lesson, isn't it, in AFL footy? When you have your opportunities, you just have to, particularly playing away from home. You know, Brisbane have had 7 shots at goal this quarter and haven't been able to kick a goal. And a lot of them have been pretty simple.
Wingard's kick 3. On the march. It's low and flat and horrible. It's missed a lot. From 30 out, Steve wrapping up how important it is to kick goals. He's kicked it out of bounds on the full. 14-7-91 to 5-13-43. Port lead.
I think you'll find his profile. When he does kick, if they're not straight, he does put a lot to that left-hand side.
Clay Beams with the free kick, punched away from Walker. Comes down to Mays, a free kick for in the back, and it's going to come back to Dane Beams, who's certainly been Brisbane's best. 27 disposals coming up, and he hasn't missed a beat. Coming back in, having not played in the opening 6 rounds.
Homsch just getting in the back of him.
That would have been the worst kick of Chad Wingard's career, that.
Dane Beams goes short, and Buick takes the mark at half back for Brisbane. Port Adelaide by 48 points. Buick will kick around the boundary line. Martin the target. He flies, gets hands to it, can't claim the mark. Polett read it beautifully. Draws an opponent, hand pass to Wines, then back to Polett. Rich almost ran him down, got the kick away. And in the end, McStay took the mark at half-back as the siren sounded. Another dominant quarter for Port Adelaide. Just starting to rediscover their best footing when they moved it in the manner in which they did in that third quarter. 4 goals to the Brisbane Lions, 7 behinds. And Port Adelaide extend a 29-point advantage at half-time to a 48-point lead at three-quarter time. 14-7-91 to the Lions, 5-13-43. 3 goals for Chad Wingard and for Justin Westhoff. 2 goals to Young and Dixon. Individuals to Ebert, Need, Broadbent and Impey. Meanwhile, for the Brisbane Lions, just 1 goal since quarter time. It's been tough work. Dane Beams, Zorko, Hanley, Lester and Shaki, their goal scorers. Port Adelaide by 48 points at three-quarter time. Earlier today, North Melbourne 11-16-82 defeated St Kilda 11-9-75 by 7 points. St Kilda booting 4 goals to North Melbourne's 2 goals, and a very interesting end of the game with the shot clock counting down as the game clock expired, and that will be debated, no doubt, during the week. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
As Australians get ready to go to the polls, the ABC continues to bring you detailed, in-depth coverage on radio, TV and online.
The time for playing games is over.
We are ready for this election.
Know the politics, know the stakes, know the story. Australia votes. Essential coverage from Australia's most trusted news source, the ABC, on radio, TV and online at abc.net.au/Australia Votes.
Grandstand AFL. You're with Grandstand.
He tries to put some pressure on him. He's kicked down towards full forward, off the back of the pack. Wingard, hand pass, Westcott, Ebert snaps the goal. Leach quick as he run over the boundary line. He has it. He's still going. He can go to Dixon if he wants him. He could have gone to Dixon if he wants, but he didn't. He decided to go to Wingard. Wingard, tight angle, left boot to ball on its way and the goal. And that hurts big time. With Wingard kicking his third. Here's the chance now for Buick. He's got it. Buick on the left boot. Oh, he's missed. Another behind 7 in this term.
Port Adelaide free kick advantage is paid and they're out. Young finds Westop on the wing. He can run his full measure. Chips it into the path of Impey, who marks 50 from home. Wingard offers the lead. Impey might go himself. And he finishes. For all Brisbane's attempts to slot between the two big sticks, Port Adelaide run it down the other end and do it as easy as that.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Local Radio and on digital radio ABC Grandstand.
3/4 time at the Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide by 48 points over the Brisbane Lions. 14-7-91 to the Lions, 5-13-43. Matt Lynch and Peter Walsh calling the action. Stephen Williams and Rod Jamieson up in the commentary box, and James Coventry down on the boundary. As we may mention, North Melbourne prevailed over St Kilda in the AFL. In the netball, it was a good win for the Southern Steel over the Adelaide Thunderbirds, who are still chasing their first victory of the Trans-Tasman season. Tough work for the new coach Michelle Den-Decker, and the New South Wales Swifts proved too strong for the Central Pulse in the other matches for round 6 of the Trans-Tasman netball competition. And in the rugby league, New South Wales City defeated Country 44-30. Stephen Williams and Rod Jamieson, your thoughts to 3/4 time?
Yeah, it was a quarter that Port Adelaide were able to extend their lead by 18 points, but when we look at the opportunities Brisbane had, the game feels closer than 48 points. Brisbane certainly had a lot of the footy in that quarter, went forward, but just to kick 7 behinds, to miss easy opportunities, and as we mentioned in the call, when you're on the road, you just have to make the most of those chances just to keep the confidence in the group up, and it makes guys who want to run and continue to ask for the ball when, you know, the scoreboard's ticking over. But when you work really hard and don't finish that hard work off with a goal, it certainly can sap the team, particularly when the opposition take it down and kick a goal themselves. So, you know, I'm sure Justin Leppage is disappointed just with the conversion rate. He'd be telling his players that a lot of the stuff is good, but the most important stat, as I said earlier, was you have to finish your work off. You know, accuracy rate can make the difference between winning and losing, and Brisbane certainly shot themselves in the foot that quarter.
I thought most of the work, Stephen, was good in the first half. As that quarter went on, I just thought they were really non-competitive, and I guess Polak right at the end, and the ease in which he's able to run away from a contest, Boak the ease in which he was able to run away from a contest, and it just happened too regularly and too often throughout that quarter. There was no real pressure, so those clearance and that tight contest where they were enormously competitive in that first half really fell away, and it's indicative of the scoreline right at the moment.
Wines with 24 disposals, Pittard with 21, Boak with 20. Meanwhile, for the Brisbane Lions, Beams with 27, and then 19 to Zorko and Ryan Bastonak. Unfortunately for Lions supporters, Justin Leppage, again, another injury. Tom Rockcliffe in the 15-minute mark of the second quarter with a right hamstring injury. James Coventry before we get the final quarter underway.
Brendan Archie actually picked up a corky on his right thigh, and midway through that last term, he spent a fair bit of time on the bench. He's actually going to start there for this final quarter as well.
So Port Adelaide looking to move in front of the ledger for the first time this year, apart from round 1, to move to 4 and 3. They lead by 48 points as we get the final quarter underway. Trengo probably won it down against Martin. It comes to Boak and now to Pittard, who from half-back sends them to half-forward. Dixon went up with one hand, just couldn't claim it. And a chance for Zorko to clear for the Lions. Turns on the right-hand side, kicks to centre wing. O'Shea comes in from the side, punches it towards the line. Gardner and Aaron Young compete for it. Young laid a good bump that allowed him to win it and gave the hand pass to Hartlett. Now to Westhoff to half-forward. Dixon's running back. Great kick. Beautifully weighted pass from Justin Westhoff. And there was little the defence could do as Charlie Dixon was streaming back towards goal.
Just great work. I think it was Aaron Young that just won that one-on-one contest and was able to just release Port Adelaide. And from that point on, they had the overlap. And Charlie Dixon just in the right place. Opportunity for him to foot for his third goal.
Charlie Dixon pretty much directly in front, looking for another bag of 3 goals. He comes in and makes no mistake. So Dixon with his third, and Port Adelaide lead by 54 points, 15-7-97 to the Brisbane Lions, 5-13-43. That took just a minute of action. And for Charlie Dixon, that's the 4th occasion that he's kicked 3 goals now in a match.
Well, less than a minute to get their first score into their forward 50. Too easy. 3 Port Adelaide, only 2 defenders. Brisbane were away. The poor contest out on the wing there. 54 points now, Walshy. This could blow out to be 100.
Look, it has the potential to be just that. A bit like Essendon yesterday against Sydney when Essendon hung in there for a while and got blown away. But I still reckon the questions will be at the end of this game. Where are Port at? We're not too sure.
Not playing back into form.
They could. Trent gave out of the middle. Floats one to half forward. Buick there. Locks arms. Picks the ball up and with speed. Got away well. Ball on the left boot. Christensen's the target. Might bounce fortuitously to him. No. Keys, his teammate, will run in and try and render some sort of support. Bell did well back to Christensen. Christensen sweeps the ball forward. A scruffy kick down towards where Andrews is. It'll be Cracker who takes the ball and runs it through for delicate behind and continues to play on. The score is 5-14-44 Brisbane to Port 15-7-97.
Polak runs, in fact it was Pittard, should I say, who runs Port Adelaide out of defence and then goes short to Tumpus, who now squares the ball to the back of the centre square to Trengove. He waits for Pittard to run behind him, then links up with Hand. Squares the ball to Paul Stewart, who's found himself as a defender the last couple of weeks and has looked okay in that role. Traditionally a forward. He'll now kick to centre wing on the outer side. Impey has to sit under it a while and Harwood's able to cut in front and take the mark. He can chip it inboard. Martin takes the mark, gives away the hand pass. Dane Beams just got the kick away as he was tackled. Walker in front position, tap down away from him. Buick races after it. Wines is right there with him. Bit of a nudge to get him out of the contest. Quick hand pass comes out. Leicester one way then the other off the right boot. Kicks into the pocket. O'Shea goes back with the flight. Walker's there. It comes to the back. A chance for Zorko. Soccer's off the ground and he's finally kicked one for the Lions. His second goal. And for Brisbane, it breaks what has been a long drought. The third quarter they failed to kick a major. They're just having a look at it on the replay, but the goal has been paid. And Brisbane, having kicked 7 behinds in that third quarter, finally able to find the major opening.
Their last 2 goals, Jello, have been one, a player laying on the ground, kicking it, bouncing over the opposition, and that was another just soccer kick, wasn't it? It was a good effort.
Steve, you're so mean. Give them credit. There's hardly any supporters here. There's no noise at all.
I heard one clap, I think, then, Walshy, when they...
Well, they are missing Simon Black. And they're missing, of course, a player who we would have loved to have seen out there, Daniel Merritt, both with food poisoning. And coming in under-resourced, that wouldn't make them happy at all as Trengove out of the middle. Dumps the ball a long way. Paparan gets up there with Dixon. Chance now for Wingard. His hand pass to Dixon. One way, the other. He's still going. He flicks the ball backwards towards where Ebert is. Ebert will take the ball, get around Buick. Ebert will stand tall and kick long in towards full forward. Clears the pack. It'll bounce. He'll charge after it. Wingard got a hand pass back towards Tumpus. Tumpus swings the ball. Goal in towards full forward. Off the hands of the pack. Is it through for a behind? It will be. No, it's not. Beams has got it and kicked it away from that goal area. Close to going over the line now in front of where we are, and it is. So there'll be a boundary throw in. Port Adelaide 14-50. 5 minutes gone in the final quarter. Or did we mention the crowd? 32,399. 32,399.
It's one of the lower crowds at the Adelaide Oval. A free kick's been picked out. It's going Port Adelaide's way. It's against Mitch Robinson. Trengove gave the hand pass away. Darcy Burns-Jones kicks to full forward. Dixon comes out, punched away from him. A couple of Lions players lying on the turf as Andrews assists Clay Beams at getting to his feet. And a boundary throw in the right forward pocket for Port Adelaide, who lead by 47 points. You get the feeling they mightn't be done with yet. Thrown back in. Martin wins down the tap. Dixon falls over. Ebert shovels out a hand pass, but straight to Bell of the Lions. Off a step, kicks into the middle of the ground. Walker sits underneath it. Punched away by Jonas. Burn-Jones read it really well. Hand pass to Tumpus. Turns onto the right boot, into the 50 once more. Dixon flies, clears him. At the back of the pack, Martin's kick smothered. Young's after it. He'll run into the open goal and make them pay. Aaron Young with his third. He's proved one of the dangerous small forwards for Port Adelaide in the 2016 season. That's 14 goals from 6 games for Aaron Young, who was very much one of the go-to subs for Ken Hinkley. Be happy that rule's gone. Port Adelaide 16-7, 103 to the Brisbane Lions 6-14, 50. 6 minutes played in the final term.
Really well-deserved goal, Jamie, wasn't it? Just to be able to lay a smother there and gets the fortune of the ball running with him, and he was able to just run through and kick a goal from the goal square. But that's exactly why he's there, just to work hard, put a lot of pressure on. He always knows his spots in jeopardy, you know, with Robbie Gray coming back, so good effort.
Yeah, excellent effort. Smother was superb and he just kept on going. Here's Boak. Got a hand pass to Broadbent out of the middle. Trengove back to Broadbent. He better run. Christensen hurries. Kick towards the half-forward line. Skid through Dixon. Archie rushes at the contest. They're Port players. There will be a bounce as Mays was in a hurry. Let's go to James Coventry.
You mentioned the crowd, 32,399. I can confirm that is actually the lowest crowd here at the redeveloped Adelaide Oval. The previous lowest was 32,436 for a Port Adelaide game against Greater Western Sydney last year.
James Coventry sitting on that stat for most of the game. He's got rid of it now. Good on you, James. Tumpus swings the ball goalwards in towards full forward. Wingard was there. It's not going to be him. The umpire's got across and Dixon's got the grab. Wingard flew high. There were 3 Port players as well as Wingard. Young was about the place. Dixon timed his leap to perfection and has the shot at goal for what could be goal number 4.
Harris Andrews, I think he's defended really well. The amount of football Port Adelaide have had in there, how they've delivered it, they'd certainly be a lot further in front if it wasn't for a couple of defenders.
Here's Charles. Charles Dixon. Charlie, they call him, and they cheer for Charlie. He kicks a goal. He has 4. Port Adelaide 17-7. 109. Brisbane Lions 6-14-50 since quarter time. 14 goals to 2. Stephen Williams and Rod Jamieson.
Just a really important player, isn't he? When they can play him up there, he's such a competitive man and can mark the ball in packs. That's what Port have missed. Jay Schultz not there. When he's in ruck, it's certainly a void up there, but when he's there, Jackson Trengove's inclusion into the side after that suspension certainly has abled Charlie Dixon to play a bit longer back down there, and he's been good for Port.
4 goals straight as well, so that's his best outing in Port Adelaide colours. 7 goals in a match for the Gold Coast last year. Port Adelaide with the clearance. Westhoff able to run onto his own tap and kicks inside the 50. Dixon will come once more. Got hands to it. Punched away from him. Impey's after it. Hand pass to Ebert. Run down by Zorko. Hot footy to be won. Quick hand pass out to Bastanak, who's curling his way back inside his defensive goal. 1-2 with Andrews, and then kicks off the outside of the boot. And it bounces just inside the boundary. And he's going to be pinged for deliberate. That was a horrible kick, and I don't know whether he deserved to be punished for it, but he will be.
He certainly wasn't trying to do that, was he?
No. It was a kick off 2 steps, which had no control on it.
Players are basically getting punished for their own mistakes.
And Jared Polak will have the shot from only about 35 metres out, but he's deep in the left forward pocket. It's the wrong side for a left footer.
What's he waiting for?
He's taking his time.
He's waiting for the clock to wind down.
He runs in. Polak on his approach. It's across the face. Wingard will try and fly. Almost claims the mark up against the right behind post. But it goes through for a minor score. Port Adelaide by 10 goals. 17-8, 110 to the Lions 6-14-50.
Lions trying to get something
out of what's been a bit of a mess today. Bell marks from the kick in. Short pass is on. It's marked by Paparone, who is on the half-back flank for the Brisbane Lions. Takes his time, floats the ball around towards the centre wing position. Stephen Martin was the target, knocked away from him, taken by teammate Bell. Bell for Brisbane floats towards the half-forward line, and it's punched over the line by O'Shea. Turning around and saying to the umpire, Josh Walker, what about that, he says. That was deliberate. Josh Walker might have to do some ruck work now, I think. I see Stephen Martin about the place, so I'm reckoning that Walker will probably have to go with Justin Westhoff.
Pittard, Westhoff, Tupis, Walsh have all run over 10 Ks just coming up on the scoreboard there. So
that's what you need to know. Bell chases and it's over the line for a throw-in. It's 17-8, 110 Port Adelaide. Brisbane Lions 6-14-50 this Mother's Day event in the AFL, coming to you on Grandstand AFL, ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
How many Ks do you reckon you ran in a game, generally?
400 metres.
Toss back into play. Walker won it down and then follows up his ruck work. Burne-Jones couldn't control it. McStay's after it. Burne-Jones goes once more to Tompus. Broadbent off a step from half-back. Cruel bounce for Archie. It rolls past him and now Clay Beams wins it back. Brisbane tied up against the boundary. Mays with a fumble. Taps it to the advantage of Robinson. Now Gardner dribbles it to half-forward. Comes off the boot of Bell. And it's out on the full as he tried to claim it with his right hand just before it went over the line. He couldn't do so.
It's got no run, have they, too, from behind at the moment. No support. They're under pressure. They're not using the footy well. It's just the last 10 to 15 minutes of this quarter. Not sure what they can do, really, to arrest potentially just Port Adelaide just having a training field.
Burne-Jones kicks around the wing. Dixon got hands to it but couldn't claim the mark. Beautifully crumbed by Archie, who hand passes at a boat, chips inside the 50. Impey running back with a flight, took the marking, a hand pass to Wines, who runs to the goal line and kicks another goal for Port Adelaide. They're starting to find some confidence and rhythm now, the Power. They lead by 66 points. With the Blues to come next week, and maybe they're just starting to turn the corner. Port Adelaide 18-8, 116. Brisbane 6-14-50. 12 minutes played in the final term. And Ollie Wines able to run in and kick his first goal.
Probably deserved that. He's had a great game, Ollie. Probably as good as anybody out there. 25 disposals, 14 contested, 6 clearances, 1 goal, 2 going at 72%. So starting to put some good games together after a good one against the Tigers last week.
With this victory, Port Adelaide move 3 other teams on 4 wins, so with the cluster there in that game next week. Some excitement, but Port Adelaide rediscovering something as Bell chases hard for Brisbane, and there's a free kick out there. Umpire's getting across and now saying advantage is paid. Ebert kicks long towards full forward over the back of the pack. Impey trying to lay the tackle. Robinson's there. Kicked off the ground towards Christensen. Taken high, surely, Mr. Umpire. And Christensen will take a little bit of time to climb to his feet. He's got moving pictures all over both arms. And Trengove copped him high. So he will, with the awareness of the umpire to pay that free kick, deliver at the 14-minute mark of this term with a right boot towards Martin, whose leap unconvincing. Rich had the ball, knocked away from him, back towards Martin, who did well to Robinson. Robinson's left boot to ball, floats high towards half forward. Cracker, courageous, couldn't do so. Here comes Keys. Keys now for Brisbane. On the left boot, swings the ball in towards full forward. Who's going to gather? Polak's back there. He had it and lost it. Andrews waits for it to spit out there for Brisbane. Not quite. Beams flicked it in the direction of Christensen, who's made some good ground, but Pittard gets there before him. Goes one way, the other. Christensen smothers beautifully, but it's all Port. Stewart picks it up. His clearance from the back pocket towards the half-back line, and Beams comes down and takes the grab, and I reckon he could have a shot for goal there, Clay Beams.
Might be just a bit too far in the end. I think it's... they're working hard to try and just get it into their forward 50, let alone use it well. There was a couple of options there. You would have thought with the numbers around the football, I think it was Walker that actually didn't even engage in the contest to make it a 2-on-1, and Port Adelaide were able to mop it up.
Well, Clay Beams has gone back about 30 metres.
And hasn't broken into a trot yet. He's gone 10 paces without starting to run. Now he runs. He's at 50. Gives it plenty. It's going to have the distance.
Good kick.
And I reckon it's all right. It is a goal. It didn't matter how long he took. He's kicked a goal, Clay Beams. And Brisbane have their 7th. 7-14-56. Port Adelaide, 18-8, 116. Almost 16 gone last quarter.
Just a bit of a panic kick by Paul Stewart out of that back 50, and as soon as Clay Beams marked the ball, he seemed very confident. Went back, took his time, and a nice finish.
Just snuck it in. Just a foot or two inside the left-hand goal post up the northern end, which is a little sparse today. Everyone's at home. Happy Mother's Day, Joan. My wife, Jen.
Any more?
No, just the two.
I'm just going to call the footy. 15 minutes play. Final term. Port Adelaide by 60 points. Broadbent a fumble as he collects it on the back of the square. He'll swing the ball to half back and Hartlett takes the mark. Fumble from Pittard. He's able to recapture it as he got the hand pass. Now set Holmes with a bit of a challenge. Christensen's after it. Taps it to his advantage. Hartlett raced at it hard. He'll eventually win the footy. Good courage. And now Burns-Jones collects it on half back. He directs traffic further afield as he kicks looking for Archie. In a wrestle with Hanley. It bounces off his chest. Archie slaps it forward. Then threw a boot at it and got contact. Punched away by McStay. Impey picks it. He's tackled up by Hanley. He rolls him on the turf. Umpire waves play on, and then he eventually comes in and will ball it up.
I'm so impressed with Darcy Burns-Jones. Just his cleanliness too, both by hand and foot. Gets in the right spot. Assists the situation pretty quickly.
He's been on Port Adelaide's list for 3 years now. Played in the SANFL Grand Final, which the Magpies got to last year, just about a full season, and getting his crack in 2016. Wines tries to knock it on. Polak could have almost been taken high. Clearing kick by Zorko, and that's out of the full. It'll be a Port Adelaide free kick, and Jimmy Tumpus will take it.
Zorko frustrated. Tumpus not. Kicks to centre half forward. Oh, Westhoff was taken high, surely, and will get a free kick. So those that are listening out in Tanunda will be cosy in front of the log fire. The Westhoff family. Dignitaries there that tick away when Tanunda's about to place on the map. And Westhoff to shoot for goal. Oh, he's going to lower his hand pass to Pittard and said, "You have a go." Pittard said, "Thank you very much, I will." Oh, he did all right. And Pittard becomes the 10th individual goal scorer. A sly little hand pass, and he went whoof with the left boot and kicked a goal. 19-8, 122 to Brisbane, 7-14-56. It happens a bit too when you see football this day and age. Someone standing by and then getting a quick hand pass and a quick release.
Yeah, Jasper Pittard certainly is a lovely kick when he's got time to set up, and Westhoff obviously thought he might struggle for the distance. Having a real breakout season, isn't he, Jasper? Made some blues, but just the run and carry and metres gain that he achieves for Port Adelaide, his best year as an AFL footballer.
Just no awareness of the Brisbane players too back there to be able to. It's just an indication of just thinking about the moment and getting around. And here we go again, Port Adelaide out of the centre.
By 66 points as Trengove roved Martin's tap and then kicked him to half forward. Need picks it up. He's well tackled by Harwood. The hand pass comes to Polak though, who doesn't break stride and delivers another goal. Polak with his first goal of the evening after winning best on ground accolades last week in their win over Richmond. All of a sudden some of the key players are starting to find form, and Polak makes it a 72-point lead for Port Adelaide. 28-1-28 to the Brisbane Lions, 7-14-56. Interesting, after this round Port Adelaide will be 4 wins and 3 losses. They'll be the same as the Adelaide Crows, with Carlton, West Coast at the Adelaide Oval, Melbourne in Alice Springs, and Collingwood to come. They give themselves a chance.
11 individual goal scorers. Port Adelaide, since quarter time, have kicked 17 goals to Brisbane, who've kicked 3. And this is so much like what happened last night in Sydney. Tumpus in towards full forward. Off hands, Pierce Hanley, one way or the other. He breaks the tackle. Need runs hard at him. He delivers to Christensen, who slides but can't get near the ball. Rich got a hand pass well to Bell. Bell knocked it forward. Swarming forward, the hand pass showing across to Boak. Boak, the skipper, runs backwards. Flick the hand pass. Charging forward is Westhoff. To kick it towards full forward is poor. And running back to take the grab in defence is Andrews, who goes across the ground. He's protecting, and Clay Beams takes the mark. We've gone 20 minutes. Beams round towards centre wing, in the middle of the pack, an attempt to mark by Leicester. Not quite. Who's got the numbers? O'Shea, well tagged there by Keys, over the boundary line. No, kept in play by Bell. Oh, he's caught beautifully. That's a superb tackle. Polak, that was a bit of magic. It looked as if it was a hot ball to go, and the effort from Jared Polak was exhilarating to lay that tackle at this time of the game. And he goes backwards and finds Westhoff, who thought about playing on. Elects to hand pass. Here's Pittard on the left boot in towards the half-forward line. Not that smart, and Christensen will gather. Christensen will go straight back down the ground. Keys will be the target. Keys marks at centre half-forward. Skips back. Hand pass. Christensen. Oh, he runs into trouble. He got a hand pass back to Robinson. Robinson, he's overcooked his kick in towards the full-forward position. Grabbed in defence by Cracker, and Cracker relieves for Port Adelaide. Straight back to centre wing, which is taken by Clay Beams.
And he goes for Walker, who marks on his chest. Hartlett trying to make up ground and spoil in the marking contest, but Walker did well to control it.
Just watching Aaron Young behind the play, and that it was unnecessary to put him in that position so late in the game as well. I don't know, he's just got a corky or something with his right leg.
The former Cat, Josh Walker, will have to kick from 52. It's to the goal square. Shaki can't get a run at it. Holmes punches it towards the boundary line, and Pittard steps it over the line and out of bounds. A throw in only about 10 metres around from the Brisbane Lions goal.
Last thing you want, Gemmo, isn't it? A corky with about 5 or 6 minutes left after they've had a pretty good game.
Yeah. North Melbourne winners by 7 points over St Kilda earlier today. As it's thrown in, Walker wins down the tap. Pittard's well tackled. It bubbles towards the Brisbane Lions goal. Holmes is keen to rush it through, and in the end he kind of wanders and waltzes and eventually steps it over.
It'll be interesting to see if the AFL do anything about that.
They have to do that. They surely to be consistent.
You would have thought so.
If you've got deliberate out on the full,
yeah,
imagine so, or out of bounds.
No, that's. I think that's something that will happen. Kicking to players. Dixon gets up, couldn't quite take the mark. Paddles it forward. Wines kick didn't travel too far. Bell almost for Brisbane. No. Wines followed up his good work. Actually torpedo, but it's out of bounds on the full. Almost a solid mark here taken by Chad Corns, who looks resplendent in the pink. If you see anyone wearing pink, it's all about breast cancer for the Glenn McGrath Foundation. Remember that. Such a significant organisation, and pink is the colour. There's the kick by Mays. In towards the half-forward line. Andrews leaps high, couldn't take the grab. Bell's there for Brisbane. Number 7, Ebert tackles him. Loose ball, Zorko. Got through the pack. Oh, both emerged. Hand pass Wingard. Here's trouble. Wingard once. Wingard will go for the kick. Long, and it's going to be offline. And through for a behind as Wingard was running like the wind, but his kick was offline and through for a rush behind. 129 to 7-15, 57, 23 and a half gone final term. It's all Port.
6-2 in the final quarter. Port Adelaide to Brisbane's 2-1. 32,399 fans at the Adelaide Oval for this Mother's Day. It's very short to Paparone, who receives it from Hanley. There's a couple of Lions players who are worse for wear. Harwood is one. Paparone kicks as far as he can. Walker competes. Shaki as well. Punched away from them. Polat ran onto it. Gets to 50. He goes towards goal. Dixon racing back. Hanley the other direction. Just could claim the mark as he ran back with a flight. And it bounced right on the boundary line. And it'll be a throw in. 10 metres around from the Port Adelaide goal. 72 points is their lead. Toss back into play. Trengo roved it from the tap from Walker. Sprayed it and missed everything. Out to the right-hand side and out on the full. No change to the score. 72 points, 24 minutes played.
Had a good game. He's had 24 disposals now, Jackson Trengo. So, been fantastic. 13 clearances. Yeah, a real good game.
Weary players. Mays kicks back towards the half-back line. Rich does well. Throws the ball onto the boot. Pretty much centre wing, and there's some scrambling and an advantage rule paid as Tom Bell got it. Over to Christensen. He looks further afield. Who is there? Hand pass will come to Robinson. He turns. Robinson kicks so badly. He would be irritated, and Justin Leppich would be furious. He kicked it so quickly. It's all right from up here to make these judgments. It did appear as if he had some time, and he sprayed the ball for a behind. 29-129 to 7-16-58 Port lead.
Long kick in from Toompas. It's punched down. It comes to Bassinak. He chips it inside the 50. And a good, strong mark claimed in front position by Keys.
And I guess that's what Robertson didn't do. He had two other options that he could have gone to, and then just in the heat of the moment, the pressure of the game, then Miles Eddie thinks, I'll have a crack, when he just got to play the percentages, Walshy, and that's what Bastinak, with 120 games of experience, did.
Ben Keys in just his second game of the season, and he sprays it out to the right-hand side.
Maybe he should have had a shot.
He's had 4 shots at goal for 4 behinds, Ben Keys, so he's had the opportunities, just has to make the most of them as a small forward.
Port Adelaide by 70 points.
7-17. That's 24 scoring shots to 29. That's 29. Ebert marks Brandley at half-back for Port. And when they had the chances to stay in touch, they just couldn't convert. That hurts big time. Hartlett flew high for the grab, couldn't take the mark. Hanley rushes back. Has it now. Well tackled by Wingard. Over the shoulder, the umpire says.
Then when you look at Port Adelaide, Pittard, Wines, Boak, Hartlett, Polak, when they play well, those guys get a truckload of the football, and that's what's happened tonight.
And the guy who spoke to us before the game, Robbie Gray, makes a bit of a difference. And let's not forget from Brisbane, the absence of Merritt. Unfortunately out Crook. Dodgy something he ate in Adelaide last night, and he's missing today. And Simon Black, one of the coaching staff, he is also where they were accommodated. So those sorts of things, such a rare thing to happen. You'd reckon with a crooked stomach, but they can't play.
You were doing some good investigating around that, Walshy. Had some Victorian people asking me, it wasn't the South Australian water, which is not nice.
It's all right. It's okay, just put something in it. That's all you need to do. Ball at centre wing, and it's taken over the boundary line. Archie had it, like you're laying an egg there, but there'll be a boundary throw in.
It is unusual, though, food poisoning, isn't it? You know, like, and you wonder how many, any of the other team, are suffering any of the effects.
Well, we haven't suffered food poisoning up here.
Maybe they
ate something. Get fed.
They ate something at half time, and that didn't work out for them.
Dame Beams with the kick to half forward. Port Adelaide should win it, though. Jonas to Cracker, kicks it into the middle of the ground, and Westhoff takes the mark. Off a step, squeeze the kick forward, sets Boak up, running back with a flight. Good work from Gardner to keep his eyes on the footy. And he takes the mark for Brisbane on half back.
He's been a shining light for him.
Not too many options food-wise at half-time at the Adelaide Oval.
Still yours. Gardner
kicks to half forward.
Chicken salt's back.
It's over the head of McStay. Cracker runs onto it, knocks it to Boak. He finds Broadbent. He'll kick around the boundary line, and Hartlett takes the lead, or he does juggle the mark. He might have been over the line, though, when he claimed it on the second occasion, and will have a throw in. So for the third time this season, Port Adelaide record over 100 points, 29-129 to the Brisbane Lions, 7-17-59. So the question is, Stephen, is over the last couple of weeks, have you started to think that they're getting back to their best?
I think certainly it's going in the right direction, but there's still a lot of occasions today where against a better side, I think they would have been heavily scored against.
Wines kicks to half forward. Coming out to meet it was Hanley. He's under pressure from Need, able to get around him. And hand pass back on, that sets Harwood up. He dribbles it forward, trying to pick it up at his bootlaces in the greasy conditions. In the end, Boat comes past him and does better. To Wines and now to Archie. Chips it to Westhoff, who marks 30 metres out. He can run, steady, touch it on the ground. Hand pass over the top to Dixon as he draws the opponent. And Charlie kicks a handful from the goal line. Charlie Dixon with his fifth. And all of a sudden he's starting to show the goal-kicking finesse that Ken Hinkley would have hoped for in the off-season. Port Adelaide 21-9-135 to the Brisbane Lions 7-17-59. The Power by 76 points.
They've certainly been better in that situation, Jamo, when they've got the numbers. We've seen Brisbane go forward and have more forwards than Port, but just kick the ball to the wrong person or blaze away. But Port have actually drawn the player and used the ball a little bit better. So that's certainly something that Justin Leppard will be looking at with his team.
It's hard to believe that this mob actually pushed Sydney last week to only 3 points. Their other losses have been significant. 64, 34, 69, 53, and here's another blowout.
Stephen Martin tried so valiantly, kicks to half forward. In defence, Cracker. Neat hand past Wines. Off to Burn Jones over the top. Trengo through the middle. Both. They're all Port players. Up towards the half-forward line, Archie. I'll tell you what, he's still running, Burn Jones. Kicks the ball to the half-forward line and Tupis has played the mark. Oh, he's a find, all right. He's a find. Tupis goes towards Boak, who picked it up. Just goes the hand pass. Polak at 50. He puts the ball long and strong in towards full forward. And it slides through the fingertips there of Dixon. And there will be a boundary throw in. So it's 21-9, 135 Port Adelaide. Brisbane 7-17, 59. Don't go away, folks, because the game is almost shot.
Port Adelaide deep in attack. Martin wins down the tap. Ebert fights for it. Christensen soccers it off the ground, straight to the boundary. That's deliberate. He kicked it over the top of the pack and over the boundary line, but his intention was just to get it out of the area. And Hamish Hartlett has the footy up against the fence in the left forward pocket. The other point to note is obviously Brisbane lost their captain midway through the second quarter, and that pressure we saw in the first quarter, they just never replicated after that.
That's probably something we haven't spoken much about, and the rotations too, the restrictions that comes with it. So lose the leadership.
11 individual goal kickers. Hamish Hartlett looking to add to that. Across the faces, Archie flew high, and it's through for a minor score. Port Adelaide by 78 points. You just think a young side that don't have that many on-field experienced leaders, but maybe that's a bit of an excuse there. Their goal-kicking woes didn't help.
Yeah, Hanley 113, Daniel Rich 127, Dane Beams 120. Well, there's a few of them over 100, so... But when you lose your skipper and a midfielder, the rotations become an issue.
Now Hanley's kick back towards half-back, twin-fisted over the boundary line by Rich, and that's pinged for being deliberate. Rich defending, but not grandly. Humps has the kick in towards half-forward. Robinson's there. He got up, but not near enough. And the mark is taken down there by Mays, it is. He goes to short pass towards the half-back line. We are very close to full-time. The grab taken out there. I think that is, let's have a look. That is 32. That's Mays who kicks towards centre wing. And there's the siren. And there's a Port Adelaide win by a lot. Port Adelaide 21-10, 136. Defeat Brisbane 7-17. 59 by 77 points.
So Port Adelaide wrestle their season back on track with consecutive wins. The coming weeks will prove what will be possible in 2016. 21-10, 136 to the Lions, 7-17, 59. They trail by 9 points at quarter time. 7 goals to 1 in the second term to establish a 29-point lead by 48 points at three-quarter time. And the Power with 7 goals to 2 in the final term, eventually running out 77-point winners. For back-to-back wins, Port Adelaide prevail. Port Adelaide by 77 points. Charlie Dixon booted 5. Westhoff and Young with 3 goals. Chad Wingard also with 3. Individuals to Pittard, Wines, Polak, Ebert, Broadbent, Mead and Impey. While for the Brisbane Lions, 2 goals to Dane Zorko. Individuals to Dame Beams, Hanley, Clay Beams Leicester and Shaki. Port Adelaide by 77 points. The scoring shots was Port Adelaide 31 scoring shots to the Brisbane Lions 24. Stephen Jammo, sum up what was a pretty dominant performance from Port Adelaide in the end.
It was, well, I thought the first half they were really competitive. The second half it was almost polar opposites. Dane Beams, after being out of the football for so long, to come back and 30 disposals in the end, certainly he and Ryan Bastanak were the two, and maybe Dane Zorko also, 22 and 2 goals. I think Stephen Martin, 51 hit-outs. He was just manly in the ruck. He did what he had to do, but the workload that came from Westhoff, came from Trengove, it was just too much in the end. I thought their clearance works were poor. Real credit to Harris Andrews, Darcy Gardner, the guys in defence who were just under enormous amounts of pressure, and Daniel Ridge, I think 19 disposals and 7 tackles, but they just didn't have enough good players around the ground, and it was so significantly poor in that second half. But Stephen, I thought Port Adelaide, they did what they had to do and probably ran themselves into a fair bit of form.
Yeah, it dropped off quickly for Brisbane, didn't it? At quarter time, you were thinking as a Port Adelaide supporter, gee, I'm not sure what they're going to deliver for the rest of the day, because certainly the Lions were very competitive, leading by 9 points at quarter time. But from that point onwards, the Lions were only able to kick another 3 goals. So, squandered a lot of opportunities, and you have to make the most of those. But Port, a little bit like last week, the confidence started to grow. The players that can run and carry the ball and make Port look a quick side started to get hold of the footy. Polak's so important, just looking at him on the screen, high-fiving the crowd as he leaves the field. Just his run and carry and disposal efficiency is so important to Port Adelaide, and when he's up and going, Port are normally playing pretty well. Ollie Wines was fantastic. Travis Boak back to some real good form for the skipper. Jackson Trengove, probably one of the best games he's played for Port Adelaide. He was outstanding in the ruck, had 25 disposals, 13 clearances, 14 hit-outs. They were beaten in the hit-outs, but basically another midfielder with those sort of statistics are really important for Port.
After quarter time, 18 goals 9 to 3 goals 13. And as you both suggested, in the second quarter, midway through, Brisbane a couple of goals up and looked to be in a position now of authority, but it just didn't happen.
Well, I think it was that third quarter, the 7 behinds as well. They were, even if you take 3 or 4 goals out of that, those misses were really costly, and they're just so deflating around. And the way that they delivered the footy, there wasn't really any significant firepower up forward. I think Josh Shaki was well held in the end, so the taller brigade, and when you have a look at it, was Josh Walker, didn't really make an impact either, so they really did struggle.
It's a pretty hard team, though, to be a forward in the way in which they move the balls at various times, and Port Adelaide were sort of able to find that run and dash which we saw in last season, and obviously was their trademark in 2014.
Well, that's certainly the key, because Brisbane didn't allow that, did they, in that first quarter? We commented so many times where Port were just kicking along down the line and turning it over and back, and in it would come, but eventually, whether it was Brisbane just tiring and not sticking to their zones properly, but Port was able to find that kick that was able to open the play up, get the run going, and then with Burn Jones, Pittard, these sort of guys coming out of the back half. Cracker's another one.
Do you like him back there? Nathan Cracker?
Yeah, I do. I think he's a good decision maker. Probably wasn't his best game tonight, but I just think with him, Burn Jones and Pittard, that they look a bit quicker back there. Earlier in the year, they had Carlisle, Trengove, Jonas, Homsch, really slow, and I thought they were exposed a fair bit by some of the better sides, but with a little bit more run and dash back there, they can stick with the smaller opposition, but they can also provide a lot of rebound.
The Port Adelaide players have left the Adelaide Oval. They're heading in James Coventry's direction.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, they're coming into a packed Port Adelaide rooms tonight. There's a pretty buoyant mood down here, because they know, for all the pessimism that started the season for them, they now find themselves at 4-3 after 7 rounds, only percentage out of the top 8. They're now level on 16 points with 7th placed West Coast, 8th placed Adelaide, and then it's Melbourne in 9th. Port sits a fair way back on percentage at 102.09, although that's up from 89.71 after tonight's big win. So a happy bunch down here in the Port Adelaide rooms. So they're just forming up for the circle, and here's the song.
Stop, till it's top. It's history here in the making. Where the power to win.
So Port Adelaide winners by 77 points at the Adelaide Oval, 21-10, 136 to the Lions, 7-17, 59. Earlier today, North Melbourne defeated St Kilda by 7 points, 11-16, 82 to St Kilda, 11-9, 75 to remain the only unbeaten side remaining in the AFL after 7 rounds. And of course, next week we kickstart with Adelaide and Geelong at the Adelaide Oval. To Queensland News Radio audience, we bid you farewell. And we continue on for everyone else, a chance to head down to the Port Adelaide rooms shortly, and we'll hear from a player or two. Just that point you made, Stephen, surrounding Nathan Cracker and Port Adelaide's run off half-back. Carlisle's, I think, a couple of weeks away still with a wrist injury. Do you think they need some better decision-makers across half-back? We've seen Darcy Byrne-Jones getting his opportunity, Nathan Cracker, Jasper Pittard's played a bit better. Is there actually a spot in their best side for Jonas, Carlisle, Holmes, Trengove? Of course, they're going to have to deal with Lobie now, who's going to be out for 10 weeks. So maybe Trengove's role will be in the ruck and providing that loose across half-back.
I think for sure that's the best role for Jackson Trengove. I think he's terrific in the ruck. He was beaten in the hit-outs, but 13 clearances. He was able to actually farm a lot of Stephen Martin's hit-outs himself and just get the ball forward. And he's smart enough player to know that he's not a terrific kick, so he does tend to handball the ball off a fair bit, which is smart. So, there's certainly... If you look at the elite teams in North Melbourne, you look at Adelaide, the Giants, the players, Sydney the same, the distributors of the ball coming off half-back is so important in footy today, and I think that's an area where Port certainly were struggling in early in the year, but with Byrne-Jones' elevation to the side, Pittard's confidence is growing, and with Cracker back in now, they've finally got some guys that can hit some targets, and if you can open the opposition up when you come out of the back half, hitting guys in the middle of the ground, that's certainly well on your way, Jamo, to getting the ball quickly inside your forward 50.
We all forget one thing, and we'll talk about this ad nauseum. We're only a third of the way through the season, and if you start to question how a side will perform, at 4-3, nothing that Port's done wrong, and similarly with the Crows, you've still got another 15 games to go. It's very dangerous to say, all right, you can't play good football, consistent football for the whole year. If you're playing it around the mark in July and getting into August and you've won these scrappy games or games where you haven't had to play at your top, you're a chance to do something in September. Sides that are playing brilliantly at the start of the season can't play brilliantly for the whole year.
Well, that's right. They've lost to Adelaide, the Giants and Geelong, and the latter probably says that they're probably three of the best four sides going around. So, they need to get better, and they'll be disappointed with the way that they did lose those games. But the important thing was also today, they got a 13-point boost in their percentage. So all of a sudden it's over 100, which, by the end of the year, there's a fair chance there's going to be a lot of sides knocking on the door for that, 7th, 8th position in the finals. So percentage may play a part. So when you have the opportunity to put an opposition away, you really need to do it.
And your point is a valid one, Walshy. They play Carlton next week, Port Adelaide, who, after a couple of wins, all of a sudden look a much different prospect. And they played really well against Collingwood on Saturday. The challenge will be to try and replicate that, and Ken Hinkley will know that that's no easy game.
No, they've got their confidence up, the Blues, and they've got some terrific players. If you look at the number one draft picks going around in that Carlton side, there's about 4 of them in there, so they ought to be half decent. And with Brenton Bolton there, the confidence is back. They've got a bit of swagger back into their step, the Blues, and
that's always dangerous.
I just think again, the 11 goal scorers, Charlie Dixon kicking 5, Aaron Young with his 3, Westhoff with his 3. These players are starting to clunk them now. There's some sort of method in which they're going in, and also when you look Boak, Wines, Pittard, Hartlett, Polak, there's your top 6 with possession winners as well, and they're the midfield and the leaders of the club. And you've still got one of the better ones that's sitting out in the sidelines. He won't be back next week, but probably the week after. So it's a step forward in the right direction.
And if you're Brisbane, you're thinking to yourself, last week, there was even conjecture at the end. Justin Lippich was so angry about the possibilities of a stoppage right at the finish with a stretcher on the ground. They lose by under a goal to the Sydney Swans and come here with a fair amount of confidence. And we saw a lot of the close-ups on our monitors here as to he looks so frustrated, particularly with their errant scoring up forward and the waste of kicking the ball and not scoring accurately at so many stages.
Well, that's what kills you. And he knows as a premiership player that when you have momentum, you just have to make the most of it. We saw it in the game last night, when the Bulldogs had momentum, they were scoring goals. Adelaide was able to wrestle back, score goals. So when your side's controlling the footy, it's not a game of keeping off. It's a game of putting score on the scoreboard. And unfortunately for the Lions, as you said, Gemma, if they could have kicked 4 of those 7, all of a sudden it might be 30 points at three-quarter time and you're still in the contest. But they weren't able to do that. And what really was more disheartening was they'd miss one and Port would take it and kick one. So it's almost, a big turnaround. So disappointing, but I still think they'll be a pretty hard prospect at the Gabba with all their side available. You wouldn't go up there with a lot of confidence because, as they showed last week, they're quite capable up there.
And Collingwood next Saturday night. So, too, the competition's difficult. There's always the pressure, isn't it? But Collingwood, Nathan Buckley, the way they're travelling, and look, at home, they are tough to beat.
Because the question is what sort of coach is Justin Lepage? And he'll argue that he hasn't been able to assemble his best side very often. So we saw that against Sydney last week at the Gabba. We saw it in patches in the first quarter. Their defensive intent was good. Made mention of Tom Rockcliffe going down in the second quarter. So you'd imagine it's probably at least going to be a week or two on the side.